PS5 event recap.
And PlayStation 5 revealed.
Hello and welcome to Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. I'm your host, Brett Beck, and alongside me, as always, Mr.
Saul Bridges, bringing you guys episode 167.
167. If you want to, if you're listening to this and find out that you like it and want to see where you can find us, we do all that in a recap at the end of the episode, so make sure to stay around for that, where you can see where you can follow us. But we like to start this episode or these episodes off a very lighthearted and fun way and getting to recap with each other and kind of letting you guys know what we've been playing. So, Saul, very simply, what have you been up to? What have you been playing?
So, come Wednesday, I finally fixed my PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. For now, at least. I'm pretty sure this solved the problem.
So,
but you know, like when you have a problem, you're expecting it to happen again out of fear.
Yeah. So, for anybody who may have skipped an episode or doesn't remember, Saul had issues where his PlayStation was
stuttering.
Yeah.
I even put it in our Discord where there's a video of it.
And it's super weird. I mean,
really, yeah, it didn't make any sense on how it happened. But what if you watched last week's episode 166, I actually had an epiphany on the show of Destiny's not on my hard drive. Let me try Destiny out. Destiny did not stutter at all. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to order a new SSD for my PS5 that I don't have yet, but my PS4, and I'm going to just replace it. And that process is super easy. It took me 45 minutes, maybe. The longest part of that process was the firmware being kind of odd in the installation process. But yeah, it went off without a hitch. No stutter at all. No problems at all. So yeah, I just essentially have an SSD inside my PS4 now, and I've been back to playing it. I've only played one game though on it, and that was Destiny 2.
The one game that wasn't on you?
Yeah, the one game I could have played before I realized what my problem was. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like for those that didn't know or that didn't realize, we got some Destiny 2 information. The new season started this past Tuesday. And I've just been playing that, and it's been kind of fun. It's kind of refreshing in a way. They didn't change a whole lot for this season to make it like worth it to go back to if you're just burnt out on it. But I don't really have anything else to play at the moment, and I've actually been enjoying playing a lot of Gambit and stuff. So
yeah,
might as well.
Well, speaking of Destiny 2, I got proposed by Chris, one of the guys in the midweek matinee movie podcast that we do. And you know, I told you that we have a little innocent, just like a trophy competition going on. We're seeing who can get the most trophies in general, but of course, platinums are kind of like the one where it's like, okay. Well, he noticed that I did not have the Destiny 2 platinum, but I have just one trophy left to get.
You do realize that could be fixed now, right?
Did it? Can it?
Is it the less you be judged one?
No, I have that one. The only one I don't have because me and you and Cody and 3 other people were doing it. We had that one guy who kept dying in the throne room for Callus.
Oh, it's doing the hard mode raid.
The hard mode raid.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we got all the way there, spent hours trying to get it, and we couldn't get it that one time.
Yeah.
So, and it really just pissed me off. So regardless, I've got back to playing the game without worrying about getting the platinum. Even the last time I was playing it, I wasn't worried about it. But I got kind of an offer of, hey, you know, would you be interested in getting the Destiny 2 platinum? I'm like, I'm interested. I'll hear you out. And it sounds like Chris. So he played like 121 hours before the raid ever even released, is what he said.
Gosh, that's probably more than us.
And then he quit playing. He hadn't played the game since. He's got 3 trophies: do the raid in general, do the raid on hard, and then level up a hunter all the way through. So I was like, yeah, you're not far. The most annoying trophy there is the Leviathan hard mode. So there is a chance.
You're not going to find any of us playing that.
Oh, I know. Well,
the
one person I thought was Diana. That was the one person.
That's the one person that like we were talking about that today before I started getting ready to come record. Was that we were talking about potentially doing a raid tonight, and
are there any other hard mode raids?
Get away from here. I don't think so.
Because that's the problem, is that the trophy's not specifically Leviathan. The trophy is hard mode raid, but I don't think another one exists. Prestige.
I don't think there is. But at the same time, we were talking about like what raids we could do today.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I just really don't want to do Leviathan at all. Because we did Leviathan like 2 weeks ago. We did Scourge of the Past in like 45 minutes.
Yeah, Scourge is easy. I wish they would do Scourge with a hard mode. Because it's just different. And I could play that one and not hate it.
But we were talking about doing one tonight. I'm like, I don't care what we do. Just please not Leviathan. And even Dinah was like, yeah, I'm not doing Leviathan.
I have a question.
She'll probably do it if you ask her. But
yeah, I'm sure. She's pretty nice. But I have a question in general for you because you've kept up with it a little bit more. And this is for anybody else who may be thinking about getting back to it. I said a little bit more. But from what you've seen and what you've played, if we come back to playing it, like me and Chris, do you feel like we need to buy the new content expansion, or can I just come back playing what I already own?
Okay, so there's a thing now.
Within reason for getting to a higher level.
When it went free to play, there's a couple of things that did not change but stayed the same. But because they stayed the same, they were forced to change in a way. So
okay. That's the most vague, weird sentence I've heard in a while.
So like bounties,
okay,
you cannot get if you don't have the season pass.
Okay, that's
because
strange.
All the bounties tie into all content, and you could get a bounty that you could never complete. So you would be essentially locked out of bounties. So then you have an inventory full of bounties that you can't do anything with.
So by going free to play, the game became gated. Not
really. No, they didn't want to go through and rework the entire bounty system, and it's not all bounties, but it is some. And there are like game modes. Like Gambit originally was a lot behind the season pass because it was the new game mode.
Yeah.
It was part of the new DLC.
Has that gone free to play now?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
You're asking somebody who has all the content. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But we were actually playing with Gavin, not Gavin that we know, but other Gavin in our Discord, Boss Annihilator or GB Boss.
Oh yeah.
And just Friday, we were like, just get your parents to get your credit card or whatever. And he was like, hold on. He's like, Dad, give me the credit card. I need $10 for the season pass because we were trying to do something. And it required the season. It required, like the game is, since it's live, it's a live game now. It requires you to have all the seasons as you play to do the higher end stuff. So I don't know.
I could get the platinum without buying content, it seems.
Yeah.
But to play, I don't know. I got to see because I really hope that Scourge or something is.
You already have
the Zur.
No, I can't think of what the name of the Shadowkeep. Didn't you get Shadowkeep?
Nope, the Moon one. No.
Oh well, see,
I thought about buying that one.
It's Days of Play right now going on. You could probably find a new version of Destiny for like $20 that has everything in it, or like a new. You know what those things are.
It's not part of Days of Play for sure. But I may look. So? No, I mean I've looked.
Oh, okay.
So it's not on there. I may look and see if it's on sale though, because I don't typically look for it. So who knows? We'll see. I don't know that I want to spend money on it yet. That's the thing. That's more of a. I may go back to get the platinum, and if I have fun with it, then be like, hey, buy the content. Then.
I'll say that Destiny is a really good game in the sense of like if you get burnt out on other games, it's good to just have your friends that are playing and go chill with them and play something kind of mindless. But at the same time,
I have been burned out, but I've been doing what you're talking about with Sea of Thieves. Me and Blake have been playing that.
Hey, I'll play that with y'all. I was actually trying to convince Seth to buy it because I was like,
well, it's Game Pass.
He doesn't have Game Pass.
Well, he did.
No, Seth Eisenhower.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, like so, it's one of those things of like, I'm having fun now. Now it does kind of require thought process because it has definitely changed since you've played. But they've added a whole lot of new content in this just new season. There's like brand new cutscenes. There's brand new story missions.
Yeah.
And now they've nerfed things, they buffed things, and now it's kind of like, what can I make a build for Gambit specifically? And that's all we've all actually been playing. It's just Gambit. And it's something you were part of, but it's still meta to do the Kamehameha. For all of us just to melt the boss of the Kamehameha, but it's now trying to find fun things like Trinity Ghoul. I don't know if you ever got that gun.
I have it.
But they gave it a catalyst so that now every time you get an arc kill of any kind, it actually procs its ability. You don't have to get a precision shot, so you could just sit there and shoot. It's an arc weapon, so you could just sit there and shoot enemies and it chain lightning and kill everything constantly.
Interesting.
So it's become different enough that it's kind of like, oh, this is refreshing.
You said shoot, but Trinity Ghoul is the bow, right?
Well, yeah, but
I was making sure because I was like, I know I got it.
But yeah, it's one of those things that's like it's refreshing enough for now.
But how long will it hold your attention?
I'm sure it'll hold my attention for at least a month or so. I may take a break again before the expansion comes out in September, but that's only 2 months away. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm definitely taking a vacation because this is the next big update supposedly. And if people are saying that Shadowkeep and Forsaken was like Taken King, we have not seen an update like this supposedly in Destiny history before. So I'm really kind of curious as to what that update will be.
All right, then.
But what have you been playing?
Mine has been very weird. I've pretty much played Sea of Thieves. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what I played last week. You know, when your weekend, like I did so much yesterday that it's thrown my sense of time off.
Yeah.
Because I did more than I usually do.
I didn't do anything yesterday. I played Destiny.
But let's see. Trying to recap and think. That's actually okay, I should say this. I've gotten back to playing RuneScape, and I think that's part of my problem.
I saw you mention that in Discord the other day. Yeah. Somebody mentioned something about an MMO, and you said the only MMO I need is RuneScape. I'm like, what?
Oh, and I always make that joke, to be honest. That's half joke, half me just being like, I do enjoy RuneScape. But I've gotten back to playing it. Now, I'm not doing anything crazy, but I've just been playing while I'm watching TV with the wife or something like that, because I've not had super drive to play anything that I've got at this particular moment. But I'm fixing that. I've been trying to figure out what I wanted to play in the in between. So I do know what I've played that I didn't talk about last week. I told you I downloaded Risen 3 Titan Lords, played it for a little bit. It's interesting, but it's just janky enough that I don't feel like messing with it, so I gave up on it.
Yeah.
I played Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and the problem I had with it is I bought it forever ago, and now I wish I wouldn't have, for one reason. I'm so used to using my system in I'm so used to putting my system, rather, in sleep mode, and that game does not support sleep mode.
Is that on Xbox or PS4?
PS4.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't, and apparently it doesn't on Xbox either. It doesn't support the sleep functionality at all because it was one of the first games, and it's a cross-gen game, and they just didn't code it into the game. So when you go to turn your system into rest mode, it's like, this doesn't support sleep mode, either cancel or go ahead and it'll close the game. And I know it's weird, and I think you remember, for years I would turn my PlayStation 4 off and wouldn't use sleep mode.
Yeah,
but once I finally did it, I'm like, this is too convenient. It's great to be able to come home for lunch and not have to worry about spending 5 minutes to start the game up, to start playing it.
Because it's already updated.
Hit it, go for it, and it's in there and go with it.
Or you know me, I'm all digital, so it's kind of like, oh, this game's on sale in the store. Buy it from my phone. I know when I get home from work, it's on my PS4.
Yeah.
Always.
It's just weird. Across the board, I didn't like it. So I'm not going to play it. I was just decided against that. So what I did do, though, with the sales,
guess you could say you jumped ship.
That's all. They were both pirate games.
That's what I
was the weird thing. Yeah. But what I ended up buying instead, because I do enjoy them, and I think that they're lighthearted enough and quick enough. I shouldn't say lighthearted enough. They're easy to play in a quick, rapid fire continuation. Is I bought Life is Strange Episode 2. I enjoyed the first one in Before the Storm, so I see no reason why I wouldn't enjoy the second one. So downloaded it because it was on sale. And then I downloaded a game that looks really interesting to me. It's another one of those artsy games that I think is quick, easy to play, and it's just something that I've looked at like 10 times, and I was like, I'm just going to buy it.
Easy to platinum to get in Chris's buns.
That is also an easy platinum, but I've looked at it like 10 times well before this because it looks interesting to me. It's a game called Blackwood Crossing, and it's on sale a decent bit, and it's not on sale right now.
I feel like I've seen that.
I bought it, but because thankfully for my birthday, I got a lot of stuff from our listeners. So you guys are great, and I really appreciate it. You know who you are. I'm not going to go overly bored of shouting you out by name just in case you didn't want that kind of recognition. But I appreciate you, for real. It was great, and I had a pretty good birthday. So, but I bought those 2 games, and I plan on playing them as soon as we get done. So as soon as we get done here, if I can. I don't know. I'm tired. I literally just drove back, and I was home for like 20 minutes before Salt came.
Yeah.
Just long enough to clean the studio, which really needed it. So anyway, that's been about it. Thankfully, I did come back Thursday and was able to stream along, a live watch along with the thing. And for those of you who joined me, thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. I had some issues like we always do with streaming because we're always doing it on short schedule.
Yeah.
Notice. Had some issues with the audio, but thankfully it was solved pretty early on. The only thing I really missed was like Grand Theft Auto 5 being announced, which we'll get into here in just a bit. We are going to go ahead and do the community stake. But yeah, thank you for everyone who joined us. But I'm going to go ahead and hop over into the community stake before we go into the event. Now, because the event was so big and I think took up a lot of this week, we didn't bother doing any other kind of news. This episode is going to be solely focused on that, no other news, just so you know up front right now. But the community stake question that we offered up last week was kind of a discussion based around the not necessarily likely nature, but the interesting kind of like, if it happened, would you be interested in the situation? With games becoming more digitally bought medium, would you be open to the idea of trading your digital licenses for store credit on any given console platform to fund your future purchases? And now there's some other stuff that I had a feeling this was going to get into, and it definitely did. I am going to try and shake it up a little bit and do some different names, some people we don't necessarily hear from as often in the community stake. So first one up is Mr. Ken Nace. He says, I'd be open to it if they gave you a decent amount of credit, but I don't see why companies would do this. And this led to a conversation because I felt this is a pretty loose question. So I was kind of stoking the conversation on Facebook for sure, as I could do it while we were out and about this morning. And it kind of led to the question of like, that is the one hard part about this to balance if it were ever going to be in the situations. Who foots the bill? Who gives you the money? Are the publishers in on this because it's their games, or because you bought the license from PlayStation, is it PlayStation's license to get back? They would only be doing it to get you to buy something new so that they'd make some money off of it. But the publishers would have motivation to give you a little bit. But no matter what, the amount would have to be super small.
Yeah.
It would, and so I kind of worked around that, and we, that conversation with Ken specifically ended up in kind of talking about something that I do think is interesting and more likely to happen. And it's kind of the idea of bringing in what you have in the car market, where when you have a car from a manufacturer and then you go to trade it in, you get extra money for trading it in, as part of being essentially a loyalty program. So the idea would be games that are long and maybe even like annual series, like the sports games and Call of Duty games, would be that you essentially trade your license for it, and they give you $5 to $10 off essentially for you giving up your license for the previous year. They give you $5 to $10 off the next year up.
Yeah.
And I could see that with something like Call of Duty as well, definitely, since they're focused around multiplayer and they like to see that user base transition if they choose to do so. So that was an interesting one. But go ahead and nab one off of Discord. I know you got it open.
The Snow Jedi says, I'm hoping Sony would introduce something sort of digital, like something, I can't read today apparently. I'm hoping Sony would introduce something sort of like a digital trade-in program. My plan is to get the PS5 digital edition as I've already purchased digital only forever. Also, a mentality people don't think about either is that when you look at a stack of something, no matter what it is, no matter where it is, but if it's physically in front of you, you think there's stuff that I don't need. So then your brain goes to, I need to trade this in, or I don't play this anymore, or these magazines need to go in the trash or recycled or whatever. You don't have that mentality with digital. There's been 2 or 3 games that I wish I would have refunded within a quick succession of playing them.
But that's about it.
But yeah, I don't look at my collection. I have 100. I looked before I recorded today. I have 178 purchased items on my PlayStation 4 that are all digital. It's
purchased or just downloaded? It sounds like purchased, right?
Purchased.
Wow.
Like if you go to your,
I'm actually surprised my number's way higher.
Is it? Well, see, I go to my purchase tab and it's 178.
Yeah.
But then also you got to think about too. PS Plus stuff is included in that.
Yes,
and I don't do that rarely, almost never. Really.
Yeah. I add them on the off chance that I get bored one day and might play them.
I do that. Like I did that with the BioShock collection. That's been about it for like the past 6 months.
Games that you actually do like, but you don't necessarily know that you'd make time for.
Yeah, and so it's not really a thing. Like people who are thinking about this, who are physical collectors or they own their games physically. This is not something you think about when you have a digital collection. You don't think about it in a sense of anything because
out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, it's out of sight, out of mind. Actually, as a matter of fact, I'll pull one from Twitter real quick. Or I thought I was going to pull one from Twitter.
Is it one that you remembered reading?
I thought so.
Well, there's a couple of interesting ones. So I'm going to go through. This one's kind of interesting here. And this one leads towards what I really thought this conversation would lean itself most toward. And really, it's what most people kind of got to. Michael Potter Schneider over on Facebook says, I want to be able to sell my digital content just as I can sell a physical game. You want my copy of Witcher? $5, and now you own the digital license. And I think that comes towards something that someone else actually kind of brought up, and that was in that conversation with Ken Nace, in that one of the things that I think the move towards digital is going to really facilitate as we keep going is going to be, how do people kind of get to that point of, once you lose the physical aspect of it and the ability starts to get taken more away from you, where physical is going to be only an option for when people, I mean, you may get to a point where there is no disk drive. So how are you physical?
Yeah.
So let's just say in that future, it's going to spur the question of, what are your rights as a consumer? And
Right.
if you own these things digitally, how does that really differentiate from you owning them physically? Why can't you choose what you do with them? Why can't you choose the same ownership? Now, one of the things that Ken said is that I think the only way that you will be able to sell our digital games is if a law gets passed that gives digital consumers, our digital customers, the same rights as people who have physical goods. And it's an unlikely thing to happen right now, because one of the weird things about the digital market, and why I think that there's a decent push toward it, is that right now, all of the problems and pitfalls of physical games, which is that they can be traded into stores like GameStop, they can be sold and borrowed between people, which keeps people from potentially going out and buying the game themselves.
Yeah.
So it puts a hole in the money of not only the publisher, but the platform holder. So
Exactly.
they both have interest in wanting you to go digital so that ability goes away. But just because corporate greed in that particular situation exists, I really think that there's a big conversation to be had about why we don't already have those rights with our stuff.
Well, it's because digital licenses are unlimited.
Sure.
So,
But you can still transfer a digital, or there's nothing that would keep you. Here's really what's crazy about this. For all of the bad of the original Xbox One reveal, do you know the one interesting thing that almost came out of it? The only thing that kind of would have been a step in the right direction in terms of digital content is that at that point in time, due to the DRM control, you were going to be able to essentially let people borrow your games license for a limited stint of time and stuff like that. Once all the DRM stuff kind of backlashed against Microsoft, that conversation ended.
Yeah, because it was
completely.
part of it. It was all.
But it's like, you threw away the baby with the bathwater. You didn't think about the fact that there are some good things in the majority of the bad.
Well, not only that, but people also assumed that the DRM situation was really bad. I think they went about announcing it in the worst way possible. But when you think about it, we have that to this day. Your console constantly is in need of checking for firmware updates and software updates for the console itself, software for the games that you have. And it's one of those things of like, I would have gone back and been all for DRM in that nature too, if it meant being able to have the rights that people are wanting right now.
I think the downside of that, and this is why, again, I think it was I understand why it happened, but in that one in particular, I think the problem comes from the fact that where we exist right now is closer to a middle ground that's happy than what that was, because the problem with that was that your system had to constantly connect to the internet to even let you play it.
If
you
now.
didn't, you don't have to.
Yeah, but I'm just saying our systems do now.
Our systems do it, but if you live in somewhere where you don't have internet, you can still play your console with no problem. Or if you take your system somewhere where you don't have internet on vacation, you don't have a problem. You can still play it. And even your digital licenses, they don't have to be connected but once a year to double check and make sure. And even if you don't connect them, they actually don't stop working, I don't think. I actually have to figure that out. I know it's a worry that they might, but that would be a really interesting thing. If so, like we talked about, some of your PS Plus games will randomly pop up to the top of your purchase list, and you're like, what the hell?
It's because
your licenses are renewing.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it only happens once or twice a year, maybe once every 2 years. In that regard, you're not really nearly as locked as you were when Xbox said you have to make your system has to be connected to the internet at least once per day. For you to play your games have to be connected online so they can DRM check at any given time before you start playing.
Were the specifics actually once per day?
Yes. Once per 24 hours.
And that I would assume, be included with a rest mode that would do it
actually
itself.
The system launched with that. I don't know if you remember that. They had to patch it out very quickly. They had announced that they were going to, but the system still launched with it, and that's why I think to this day you have to put your Microsoft, your Xbox system, even the One X and all that, you have to put it in offline mode to be able to play it with no internet. And if
don't you have to do the same thing for Sony?
No,
you don't have to go through and activate something to.
Nope. All you have to do is make for digital licenses, not for disc ones.
You're right.
But for digital licenses, you have to just make sure that whenever you set your PlayStation up, you've set it as your primary. But once you've done that you never have to do it again.
Yeah, that's what it is that I'm thinking of.
And that's only for digital licenses.
Well, that's all you have to do on Xbox.
Yeah.
Is enable the offline setting. Right?
And again, they could have changed it, but I'm pretty sure it's to this day, you have to go in and turn your system into offline mode for it to let you play those games. I really hope
Steam
they've changed
that. Steam has a very similar setting to that, but it's a one and done thing.
Yeah, and if I'm wrong and they have fixed it, but I remember that back when Trace had one, even 3 years ago, when Trace used to have a 1X, he didn't have internet. So whenever he'd want to play it online, he'd have to go back, put it online mode. Then he'd play it for a little while. He'd take it home, forget to put it in offline mode from whoever house he was on, and he'd call me and say, "Hey, can I come bring the Xbox by so I can put it in offline mode so to let me?"
That sounds like he's being a dum and keeps forgetting something.
Well, no, and I know because I'm the one he didn't even know how to. He wasn't very good at doing it. You plug it up, and now it could have been changed with an OS update, and I hope so because I always thought it was very archaic and like a remnant of the bad decision of the early days. But yeah, the offline mode would make you go through and set it in offline mode before it lets you play it. Otherwise,
but you had to connect to internet beforehand?
You have to be connected to internet when you turn it to offline mode because it has to send that essentially through. It's crazy. I really hope it's changed. Really hope it's changed. But I don't know that it has.
On Microsoft's website, it just says, press the button, go to general network settings, and select go offline. Doesn't make any mention of having to be online or having to be offline.
Maybe that's what they did. Used to, you had to be connected to internet for it to go into offline mode.
See, it doesn't say anything about this. Now, this just might be kind of one of those things of like...
They don't do a good job of explaining it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's possible. But anyway, get a couple more in here. A new member over in the Facebook, Mrs. Allie Diane Coble, she says, "I love my physical copies too much. I'm not looking forward to the day physical games become obsolete. I'll still play and I'll still buy, but it won't be the same anymore." And I got to say, that's kind of where I'm at. I do buy occasionally digital for convenience, but it's normally just because it's so cheap that it'd be kind of ridiculous for me to not buy it at that point. But more often than not, I really do like buying games physically. And I love that I can say, okay, I beat Maneater. I'm done with it. I've had fun with it, but I'm going to go sell it to Josh Drago for $20 and ship it to him in California. That's awesome. I got $20 back off of a purchase that I got my value out of and then sent it to someone else for a cheaper price. I know that in some ways that hurts the gaming's bottom dollar because no one's going to buy it, but that's how content and media has always been, and I personally think it should always be. The value drops a ton, in my opinion, when you buy something at full price for sure. Sales get a little different on digital, and I think that's a reasonable time. But full price on digital for me, and this is a personal thing, and I think that it's a couple people have it. I have that feeling that whenever I don't have that anymore, the ability to let someone borrow it, let someone play it, to try it out before they buy any of that, when the moment that's gone, I feel like half of the value of that game is gone to me.
Well, that doesn't, maybe to you.
That's why I say it's a personal
But that also
thing.
doesn't make any sense to me because it's the value of the game is what you
value
play
it at
as.
yourself.
Yeah.
Too. But so right now, because I buy
this
physical.
value doesn't come from potentially what you may do with it in terms of selling it. Value comes at the experience you have with it currently.
Both. When you buy physical. When you buy digital, one of those is.
But how does that make how does that in value a digital game? Just because you don't go into that, you don't go into digital. See, this is the mindset thing.
Well, no, I get it, but I'm saying physical naturally gives you that extra value of once I'm done with it, I can sell it if I don't need it, and it's not what you talked about early. It's not sitting around wasting space, wasting anything. Now, of course,
there's value in that
in your digital thing. It's not wasting space so much as it's there. It's in your library, and you're never going to play it again. But it's there. There's ups and downsides.
Well, that's a value of that too.
Yeah, there's ups
Once
and downsides.
Once you buy a digital,
you have it
forever. So there are games like Witcher 3 that I still have that I can download again if I ever want to play it again.
Yeah.
Instead of having to go out and spend the money. And there are plenty of people in this world like me who, if you have a physical copy and you're done with it, or you think you're done with it, you trade it in, and then a year later you're like, oh dang.
Trace.
Yeah, I kind of want to go play this again.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, I want people who listen to the show tell me you do that.
Oh, I know.
Let me know who you are, because I know for sure a couple of y'all in our Discord that do that.
But still, all I say is that even then, the choice is there. You know how many of my physical games I've owned for the life of my play, or from the day I got them to still having them now? Because it's like, to me, the chances of me playing this again are high enough that I'm willing to risk it sitting there and losing value it could have had up front for me reselling it because I want to play it. And I like that I have that option.
Well,
but I also like that I look at Maneater and I go, I loved Maneater. It's super fun. I really enjoyed it. But I'm never going to play it again. It's not that special. It was just fun and unique. And that I can get extra money out of it, get it out of my way, make someone else's day. It's value that's beyond the game itself. And you're right. The game itself still has its own inherent value and the experience that you have with it. But when you buy physical, you get an added layer of value of you also get to do whatever you want to with it. If you want it to sit there and be a coaster for your drink, you can. If you want to let it sit there as a collectible that you like to look at and go, I played that game and I enjoyed it, you can.
All this boils down to is two different mindsets because
they are,
if you're buying it,
preference.
But when you buy a digital game, do you immediately think, well, I'm already losing value on this game because I can't do that?
Yeah, actually I do.
That to me is a completely one.
And that's
mindset.
why I only buy them on sale. How often do you see me buy a digital game? The only digital
quite
game,
a lot lately.
The only digital game
a lot lately.
What do you mean?
Didn't you buy Gris
on sale?
Yeah, you didn't buy that physically though.
No, but I bought it on sale. It's not available physically.
I know, but I'm saying you download games lately quite a lot.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying when do I do it when they're not on sale?
I don't know.
Yeah, my stipulation for buying a game digitally is it either has to not be available physically, so I don't have an option, which is what a lot of games fall into. And even then, I still normally will wait for a sale because it's like I can't do anything with it once it's done if I decide I don't want to play it anymore. But yeah, that's for me, buying games on sale. The only game I've bought full price, and it was honestly because I didn't know for sure, and I'd promised y'all I was going to play. I didn't know if Minecraft Dungeons got a physical release, so I decided to just roll the dice.
You didn't promise us you would play.
I promised Sean I would.
Oh.
And then you kind of came into that fold already afterwards.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I said I'd do it, so I'm going to go ahead and buy it and play it. And it's $20 and it's fine. But in a way, I wish I would have bought that physically. I wouldn't have sold it. I would have preferred to have it physically if it's available physically. I haven't looked it up. But that's one of the only full price digital games I've bought recently, besides Blackwood Crossing, which I just got its full price because I got sent birthday PSN money.
I guess once you get into the mindset,
and I don't think that's physical either.
I guess once you get into the mindset or mentality that you're keeping this, that what you're buying is permanent, then you are automatically have no invaluations with that kind of mindset.
Which brings us to a point that Ken also brought up. And I'm glad that you said that because I think it's one of the most important aspects of this. And it goes back to something we've talked about in the show a lot. He said, I wonder if as digital gets bigger and bigger, if people will be less and less likely to try new and different games if they know that they can't seek or sell or trade them is what he meant to say, if they don't like them. And I think that's
Would
true.
You just buy the physical version?
He's saying if digital gets to a point where the physical goes away, it creates the issue of people are going to have less motivation to try a game they otherwise wouldn't have. Now, but
I think by then,
there's a savior here in the
demos
weird way,
and
right?
everything would be more of a
and that's what he brought up is that demos become the very big thing. Demos have to come back for this to be more viable, or
right. I mean, yeah,
the saving grace of something like Games Pass.
Or no,
that's one of the other things. Services,
something like the Steam refund policy. You have 2 hours to determine if you want to play, if you want to keep this game in your library or not.
And that goes back to last week's episode. Right now, PlayStation, you do not have that.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like if you look at Steam, which is all digital. Pretty much everybody on PC. If you build a PC in 2020, you're not putting a disc drive in it,
and yet they still sell games physically.
Yeah, it's very
really weird,
very very rare.
I mean, I'm glad they do.
Yeah, to build a PC and to put a disc drive in it nowadays.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's kind of hard to find a case that has a slot for a disc drive. Most case you'll find nowadays won't have a disc drive on it.
My case right now has a disc drive slot, but it doesn't have a disc drive in it.
Yeah, mine has no disc drive slot. It's it's pure plastic mesh on the front. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is that like Steam itself has a foundation on, hey, you buy this game, maybe this game's not optimized well for your PC, or maybe you don't like this game. You have 2 hours to decide that, then you just refund it if you don't. And it's like I said, I've done it 3 times now or 2 times now. Not an issue.
Yeah.
Not a single issue.
It took them time to get there. It's going to take PlayStation time to get there, and it took Xbox time to get there.
Yeah.
So we're on the right track, and that's a better point.
That's what I'm saying is that you have, if physical copies were to go away completely, you have to have a foundation there.
Yes, you do.
And I think that foundation would be places like Sony or people like Sony and Microsoft, they're not just going to have this no-name BS reason on like, well, all our discs are now gone, so here's digital copies. Do we get demos? No. Nobody will buy things from them.
Do you get what?
Demos, no.
Oh, demos,
yeah. Nobody would buy things from them anymore.
Well, it comes back to the other thing that we talked about as it was a feature that was supposed to be introduced in the PlayStation 4 life cycle,
Yeah,
and
that
now
never
it hasn't,
did.
is the PS Now option. I really don't see why all PlayStation users can't use PS Now for that.
Yeah.
And then if you want to use PS Now as a different service to continue streaming the game because you just found it convenient, then you pay.
I would pay $2.99 a month to let me play a game, to let me test play games on the store.
Yeah, but that should just be free. There's no reason.
I know, but I'm saying I would.
But yeah.
That's $3 a month that you can go through and play any game that's out right now and test drive it.
Yeah.
I would definitely do that.
Those things need to come back, but we'll go ahead and throw a couple more in here. Let's see.
Richard Schaefer, let me get this one out the way because this
Yeah,
one is interesting. Richard Schaefer on Twitter says, absolutely, I'm not a big trophy hunter, so I usually simply play a game for completion, not platinum chasing. So I end up with so many games I'll never go back to. The chance of picking something up new at a reduced price is always welcome.
Yeah. And that is a big thing.
See, and that's kind of weird where that opinion for him is like, yeah, I'm not going to play these games ever again. He doesn't have the mindset of like, I'm just going to buy them and then potentially sell them or trade them in. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, I'm going to buy them and I'm one and done. So absolutely, they should have some sort of trade-in policy for them.
And the last one we'll do over here is Mr. Irish Joe 13 on Twitter. He says, I've thought about that for a long time. Why wouldn't Sony do this? Then I thought, why would they do it? It's not like Sony would get money from doing that. It's not smart business-wise. Then I was thinking, what about trading games with others? That might work with a $1 fee. And that brought up an interesting thing because clearly the rights for that digital license would have to transfer.
Yes.
What work goes into that? It should be automated. It shouldn't be anything. But the system, as we know, PSN is a little fickle and outdated. It would be something that probably took some time to implement. So the $1 fee would be something in the long run is just like hey, this is to kind of compensate us for all the work we did building this in. Now, in the long run, yeah, you should have just built a better system. But let's just say, if there was a situation where we can go, you know what, I love The Witcher, and I had a great time with it, but I'm done with it, and I want to just give it to Saul. Why can't I just spend $1 to just be like, here goes Saul.
But why does
here's my digital license.
Why does that even have to be $1? Here's what I can show you one better. I can show you a future where imagine the PS4 crossbar, which would not look the same on PS5, I'm almost guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
But then you have your layout of games. And then one of those games has a transparent grid lock on it. You go over there and hover on it, and it says, oh, hey, I forgot I let Saul borrow this game. It's still on your PlayStation, and you just can't play it until Saul's done with the license, which he could just give it right on back.
Now, and honestly, in an ideal world, that's exactly what I'd want.
Except here's the thing.
And that
people would complain because they'd be idiots and like, oh, my friend on Twitter, I let him borrow Destiny 2. Now he just won't give it back to me, which you should be able to revoke the right from them if you were the owner of the game. Sure.
And that comes into something that Mr. Crash the Animal, one of our patrons, and he doesn't normally hop into these, so thanks, Corey. He says, honestly, I think it'd be really cool if you could if you could make some kind of a rental system to allow friends to download and essentially borrow your digital games. Like give your friends a code. They could download the game and have it for a rental period of about a week or so. So your friends would not be getting the license for the video game, but it's kind of like a peer-to-peer game streaming platform like PS Now. It's always been my biggest downfall of digital only. When I finish a game, if I loved it, I want to share it with my friends. If I finish the game and I'm not going back to it, I should be able to let my friend play it without him having to spend $60 to play the said game.
This is where I'm just selfish, and I'm like, we're all adults here. We all make money.
And you all go buy it?
Go buy the game.
And I'm wrong. I get that. And this comes into a really weird thing because it's like if you want gaming to continue, they do have to make money.
Yeah.
But there is a line that can be met to where it's good for consumers while still good for the company, and both take some hits. And I think we're kind of close right now, even with I feel like we don't have enough rights for digital.
So,
but
let me ask you this: there was a leak on Amazon, and we'll get into the PS5 showcase here in a second. There was a leak on Amazon that we don't know if it's true or not. But we saw games at $69 Euro, not $59 like they are this generation.
Yep.
Well, if games next generation came out at $70, but the digital versions on each store for Microsoft and Sony were $10 cheaper.
Yeah.
Would they make more money because it's going straight into their pockets through that alone without having to worry about distributing X amount of copies? Do you think they'd make the same amount of money or more money or less money? More money. Because they're not having to worry about all the copies of games they're having to produce.
No shipping, no plastic to be dealt with, no disc to be pressed, nothing. No manuals to have to worry about. Do you include or do you not include? Because it takes more out of your overhead. You know what I mean?
So
they'll definitely make more money.
So something that's interesting to me that is in kind of a parallel to that is that Animal Crossing came out at a perfect time for a game like Animal Crossing to come out in.
Very much.
It is one of, and still the main reason you can't really find a Nintendo Switch somewhere.
Do we have a new conspiracy theory that Nintendo caused COVID so that they could sell Animal Crossing at unprecedented rates?
We do not have that conspiracy theory.
I
Alex
think
Jones. But so you got to think of it this way. If you could find a copy of Animal Crossing, people just bought it digitally, and they did.
Yes.
And we saw record numbers for Animal Crossing digital sales on the Switch because of that. To me, say Last of Us 2 comes out, and they only make 1 million copies.
Oh, physical? Yeah.
Physical, yeah. I guarantee if it came out at a discounted price on the digital store, they would make more money than if they made 4 million copies.
Of course they would.
5 million
No
copies.
overhead?
Yeah.
Going direct to thing?
Less copies that have to funnel through GameStop, because like that's the thing that kind of bothers me is the way GameStop operates with their business. You go buy a used, say I love Heart Fracture. Say they go and Hyper Light Drifter is sitting there and that's a collector's edition. It's all nice and shiny, but it's used.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting any of that money.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go just on the store to buy it, they get it all. Or will they get more? I don't know if they get it all because Sony takes a cut for being on the store or whatever. But still. And it makes sense because GameStop is providing you a cheaper game, but then GameStop takes it all from the publisher and then the company, the developer.
Yeah.
So for me, that's almost all my ultimate screw you to GameStop is like telling everybody to buy digital, because eventually, if that becomes a thing, then these companies are going to make more money. And people know that when you're in a hobby of any kind, if the ecosystem that is involving the hobby is rich, the hobby will suffice for a lot longer.
Sure.
Look at all these weird, very, very cliche hobbies like geocaching.
Yeah.
That right there are still people that do that. I did not know a person in 2008 who did not know what that was. Me saying that word there probably made people who are listening realize, oh, I forgot that was even a thing. But it's still going on, but it's at very low numbers because of that. Because there is no, it's very user reliant. It's very user costed because you're essentially taking something you own to give it to somebody else in a box. Mm-hmm. You take something like kayaking. Say like the 3 major brands of kayaks all failed or whatever, and there are none. Now you're going to Walmart to get your crappy kayaks, and then now people who are passionate about it don't want this bad quality, so then they do with what... Oh, I just had a good analogy there, and I lost it. But longboarding, skateboarding, rollerblading, baseball, if the hobby itself collapses in on itself financially, you're not going to... If you're passionate about it, you have a PS4 in there. You don't want to go buy a Sega Mini to replace it if that thing died and there was no more PS4s.
Yeah, no.
I mean, you probably would to get a gaming fix, but you're not going to be happy about it. You'll eventually find something else.
Yeah.
And I think that to me, if I think it's very anti-consumer. I mean, no, it's very pro company. I don't know what pro company. I guess
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
but
it's very
pro corporate.
It's very pro corporate to have this kind of mentality, but it's also anti corporate because I hate GameStop. And I'd rather
it's pro one corporate, anti one.
Yeah, I'd rather see companies that I care for flourish more than companies I disdain.
See, and you actually reached an interesting spot, and then we can get off of this. But I agree with you in the sense of I don't buy used games. Oh, it's very seldom.
Yeah,
only used
because
game
you
I bought.
The developers.
Only used game I bought in 3 years was Fallout 76, and it's because I didn't know for sure if I was going to like it. So it was a way for me to kind of just.
And Bethesda shouldn't get that money anyways.
Yeah, maybe that's all. You know what I mean? Arguable there, but my point being, you know that I buy new. I go out of my way to buy new. Now, if I can find a way to buy new and still save money, I do. You know, I bought Maneater at Walmart because it was cheaper, and great. You know, I'll pre-order in ways if you like when Amazon used to pre-order and save you $10. Great, I'll do
Every
that.
time you say man-eater, by the way, I think of manhunt.
Okay, yeah, why. I feel, but yeah, I'm definitely with you on that, and you know that's a way that you can support local businesses around you while still, whether or not you want to support GameStop, you can still support a brick and mortar in your area that you like that sells physical games.
Yeah, which I will say to do. We used to have a really good one here,
yes.
Borderlands.
Yep.
Or Borderland Games. Fantastic guy who owned it. They had a really cool environment there. You can go there and rent a system and sit there and play it like almost like a LAN cafe.
Which is probably not amazing anywhere, probably not surprising anywhere else. But for our area, it's still not been done since he's left.
And that was 6 years ago that he's been open since, I think.
Yeah, he's been closed. Yeah, and he only closed because he got bought out.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's like, I don't like GameStop mainly because of their practices. I having left retail, if I hear stories or if I see stories that are very, 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 very anti-employee or anti-consumer, and the corporations that's doing it, they don't care, I'm not going to like that company.
Yeah.
And GameStop, you can find millions of stories online. Just with the COVID stuff that happened, you can find people with like legitimate, probably illegal recordings of like district manager meetings with all the store managers on phone. They recorded it and they were like, listen, y'all don't close until police come and tell y'all to close. They're like, but we're in a curfew. I don't care. You stay open until 9 p.m. You don't close those doors until police come drag you out of the store. It's like, dude, that's your employee. Like that is an extension of your management, and you're just throwing them out there to the wind. Yep. They don't care. They care about that profit and that money.
Yep.
And every company's like that. And honestly,
every company's about profit and money, but they don't have to be solely about that.
Well, yeah, but they all are, but they're just not going to show you that. Yeah. It's until you see the bad side of companies.
Well, it's the crazy part of sometimes good PR and doing something that takes an initial hit actually gets you more money in the long run. That's what it is.
Well, it's kind of like companies nowadays. Like, it's actually funny that on Twitter, people are being very outspoken right now about companies with rainbow logos, because it's like, this is just a PR stunt. They just want your money. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like don't give them money because they changed their logo. If you know they don't support this every other month of the year. And it's like, yeah, exactly. You got to see through.
Or the funny thing of speaking of Bethesda, where all of their different locations changed to the rainbow logo,
except for
but Saudi Arabia, Russia, and one other.
Yeah,
we're just like, we're still normal.
That speaks volumes about that company.
Well, because it's interesting. It means that we care about you so long as it doesn't affect our business. But it affects our business too heavily in Saudi Arabia for us to be able to do it, because that's not positively looked at in Saudi Arabia.
That's not positively looked at a lot of places when they still did it in those places.
Yeah, but you're going to have the biggest upset in places that are very anti. So you're right though. PR, people don't, and it sucks. Really, it really does. That companies are so PR driven, because you don't know if what they're doing is really for the good. Because someone was like, it's for the good of the customer.
They're almost, if it's a big multi-billion-dollar company, multi-million-dollar company, that is never for the good of what you think it is. It's just for the good of their pocket.
Now, there may be someone in the company that's doing that,
right,
or who thinks that way,
right.
But even if the person who's like, this is so cool and helping people, the main reason is because they know it's going to make them more money somewhere else. That's what it is. Yeah. So and that sucks, because it makes it so hard to want to really like a company, because it's like, they could just be terrible and hate everything about me. But,
I will say one of my favorite subreddits in the world is called Hail Corporate. And what it is like, it is essentially, and it's kind of crazy because you don't really pay attention to this kind of stuff online normally, but it's essentially, you're scrolling through Reddit and you see somebody, they're like, oh yeah, I got this cool new watch. And it's a watch that you don't know the name of the brand of, but then your eyes looks like a McDonald's cup in the background. And you're like, huh. And then you go to this user and it's like, brand new account. Like, well, that's kind of weird. Why does this have 100,000 upvotes on it? It's just a crappy off-brand watch. And you realize this is an advertisement for McDonald's.
Yeah.
And it's literally one of the coolest like ways in my mind to see how crazy PR is, because you are being advertised and you have no idea. And this isn't some kind of like deep state thinking, like kind of conspiracy theory. Like literally, it's just one of those things of like
product placement.
Yeah. And this is literally a pregnancy announcement, and it says, this is how we announce our pregnancy to our friends and our family, and it has a Prego right in the middle. It's like, did they get paid? And like, why?
Prego, was that Netflix
Canada Dry,
or is that just
what does that have to do with pregnancy? Unless there's some kind of really messed up joke there I'm not getting.
I don't know either.
But then you have this, like, it's all facing, all the logos, everything are facing the camera, which is a very odd way to take a picture. But
there you go. We are now product placement. Mountain Dew, please give me money, please. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into the main topic of the show. Thank you everybody for coming in, as always, on very short notice. I woke up this morning. I have a good excuse this week. Birthday stuff had me everywhere, and went out of town and had a really good time, but lost track of time. Woke up and was like, oh Lord, I didn't post it. So first thing I did this morning at like 8:30 in the morning was post that. So you guys came through in spades like you always do. Appreciate you. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the Sony event, which I guess the best way to kind of do it is Saul and I watched it separate times. Saul had to keep working, so I came home and did the stream. So I think Saul tried to save as much for himself to go back and kind of watch as a singular event.
Oh, I did. The only thing I looked at work was the console.
Okay.
I looked at the console, and then Josh was like, hey, Saul, come look at this. And I was like, I went up there and looked, and it was the Demon's Souls remastered trailer. He's like, I wonder what this is. And I was looking at it. And then I did the overhead because I'm pretty sure it's been a long time since I played Demon's Souls. I'm pretty sure all the footage up until a certain point was new, or it's redone. Because
no, all of it was redone, but just essentially a recreation of the intro to the game
see,
the original trailer.
I remember the intro to the game being the eagle flying with a body.
Yeah, but there was stuff before that.
Is there? Okay, see, I don't remember that. But whenever I saw the eagle flying with the body, part. I was like, that's Demon's Souls.
It's not an eagle. It's one of the old ones. But yeah.
Well, yeah, but you know.
Yeah.
It's something flying with a body. Spoilers,
gonna call it equal. But anyway, yeah, the event, I think, if we just want to kind of start off with, what did you think about it as just a whole before we start breaking down into everything?
As a whole, it's kind of like a roller coaster. Like, it started off and I'm like, Sony, what are you thinking? Like, Grand Theft Auto 5 for the 4th generation now, and this is supposed to be like your PS5 games.
Generation. Third generation?
Third generation,
be the third one,
yeah,
right?
third generation.
I was say fourth. I was like, did it come on something I was on?
No, it was a
PSP game.
it's launched across what now though? 5 consoles. It'll be PS5, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, PS4, PC, Xbox 360, PS3. So 7 consoles.
Yeah.
But Nintendo Switch probably soon. I don't know.
I don't see that game working on Switch.
Maybe not. They got Witcher working on Switch.
It'll be the Outer Worlds. Yeah,
the Outer Worlds is a bad example. Witcher's a pretty good example though for a big game. Like
that. But I think that population is such a big thing.
There'll just be like one person on each street. That'd be fine. Grand Theft Auto, but there's only one car to pick from at any given time. But overall, like, I thought the event was fine. I thought it was good. It didn't blow my socks off except for the announcement of 2 things that we'll get into individually.
Sure.
It did a good job, and I was kind of curious at a couple of the announcements they made because they kept them so well hidden. But at the same time, a lot of industry people were speaking about how excited they were for this, and I think that overhyped me. Because there's a couple things in here that I did not care about seeing. And there's a couple of things in here, and once again, this is opinion, so this could be different for you. But sure. There's a couple of things in there that I'm like, that's kind of cool, but why is that here? Like we'll get into that here in a second too.
Well, if you have an example, I mean, throw it out.
Project. Okay,
yeah, fair. Yeah, and we immediately...
That game doesn't even have a name. I'm just going to call it Project because like there's no point in calling the main character's name out there too because we don't even... That main character, this could be Noctis again.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. Yeah, we will talk about that in just a minute in more depth.
Yeah, like there's a couple things in here that like
it's like how did you not learn a lesson the first time around?
2K21 or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like I get it. We're getting sports. Every console reveal or whatever you have to see sports. Microsoft did it too where they had FIFA in there or PES, I guess.
Oh yeah. PES. I always call it PES,
PES.
But I've heard other people call it PES, and every time I think of PES, and I'm like, are you saying PES, bro?
It's like piss, but like PES.
PES.
PES. But yeah, like I thought it was good. What about you? I
really enjoyed it, and it's weird. It's a sum of its parts thing to where I don't know that any... Okay, I'm not going to say that. There was a few like holy crap announcements, and then the rest of them were like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, like there was 2 holy crap moments.
Yeah,
and then there was the rest of it was like, I saw that coming, but it looks cool. Then there was like, that's kind of a game I don't care about. That looks cool. That's brand new. I've never seen that before.
Yeah,
this game doesn't have a title. Why am I seeing it now?
So where I was going with that is, I think that this might actually be from a widest possible audience while still keeping the majority of people their attention held.
Yeah,
I think this may be the best showcase that Sony's ever done because I can't think of a time when Sony have shown such a different breadth of games. And the reason I say that is like, think about this. One of the biggest complaints that's come out of Sony recently, throughout the PS4 generation as a whole, really, and they did have a couple of games that were outliers, but for the most part, it was, this is a third-person action-adventure game machine. That's just what it is. And honestly, it's true. As much as I love that,
what we saw there,
as much as I love that, you see that in a lot of the stuff here. But they were really smart, whether it was first, second, or third party, because it had a bunch of different stuff going on. They were really smart to include bringing back IP that's not been touched much this generation. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then doing new IP for stuff. Also partnering with people to do new things. I can't think of a time where Sony has shown such big, normal PS4 era Sony, while also showing things that kind of seem like PS2 and PS3 weird era Sony, where they do unique and interesting stuff. Like
I got you on one of those.
Like Bug Snacks. Great trailer to throw in there because it gives something that's like, okay, well, if you are interested in PlayStation 5, but you're not necessarily interested in these hyper crazy stories, what if you just want to play something cute? What if you want to play a platforming game? What if you want a couple of platforming games? What if you want something that's lighthearted that all your family can play and isn't super brooding like The Last of Us 2, which isn't a hit against it, but it's clearly The Last of Us 2 has a market, and it's not going to be everyone. So when you think about what Sony's doing right now, you have The Last of Us and you have Ghost, which are two very serious games. I think that the best thing they could have done is, and we talked about it
up a little bit.
We talked about it back with Knack 2, and then we haven't seen anything since Knack 2 that was like, oh, this is family friendly. But it kind of seemed like they were trying to try that again. But now we have Ratchet and Clank. We have Sackboy coming back around, and I'm so happy about that. We have the
Astro's Playroom.
We have the new Astro Playroom that's going to be free for everyone, and I thought that during a trailer. This is going to be a PS5 pre-installed game like the first Playroom was.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
This to me is going to be Playroom, but it's going to have this game in it.
It's going to be,
It's going to be the Playroom featuring this game.
Yeah. So that was awesome. I just think across the board, this is... They showed interesting indie games that were like, without having to necessarily be kid friendly, they were just interesting. You know, I don't know how I feel necessarily about that Goodbye a Volcano High or whatever it is, but the whole time I was like, this is interesting.
Well,
so good job on just having variety.
Good job on variety for sure. I will say though, the last time I think I've ever been hyped through the roof for anything gaming that was at a conference was probably Sony 2017.
17.
Shadow of the Colossus and God of War being in the same time. It's like Demon Souls we've thought about and we've expected at a point now.
Yeah, now don't get me wrong.
Shadow of Colossus
seeing it still made my heart just like, ooh, but
Shadow
you're
of
right.
Colossus,
no rumors that necessarily pointed to it.
No leaks, no out of the blue. It's just out there. Now Demon Souls though, this is coming from the biggest Dark Souls fanboy. I'm wearing a Dark Souls shirt and that's unintentional today. Chef kiss.
Chef kiss indeed.
That's all I can say when I got done watching.
All right, well, let's go ahead and kind of break into it. I think the best way to start is just to start with the first party stuff.
Yeah,
right?
let's
go ahead and loop all the 9 new first party, or I should say first party IP. It doesn't necessarily mean it's first party studios working on it. So we'll go off of that. So clearly, the first thing we'll talk about is probably one of the biggest moments of the show, which is...
You're on a different article than me.
Yeah, I clicked through because this one, it breaks around just to the 9 games.
Oh, I guess so, yeah.
So, first game I think that's fairly reasonable to talk about, and I do think was a big moment.
What'd you click through?
I'm not surprised, to be fair. I clearly know what it is and then that it was coming, but Horizon Zero Dawn 2, or in this case, I'm actually
West.
Really, Forbidden West, and kind of focusing on calling it Horizon Forbidden West instead of emphasizing 2.
Yeah, 2, if you look at the logo, it's there, but it's very there. Small.
Yeah, but they're not worried about necessarily, like even right here, they're not referring to it as Horizon 2. They're just referring to it as Forbidden West.
Now, I'll say that this trailer here is what I reveled Assassin's Creed Valhalla for. It's such a good trailer that like we both had problems with Horizon, but I will say we both would give it an 8 out of 10 game, right? 7, 8, somewhere in that.
Yeah, most of my problems with it were bad characters that weren't main characters.
Yeah, that could be fixed next gen.
Yeah.
Too, the stale animations in some parts, and some of the script was kind of bland and boring.
Yeah.
But this made me... I have the Platinum for Horizon. I want to go back and play Horizon because of this trailer again.
It made me want to play Frozen Wilds because I haven't done it.
Exactly.
I was like, I can play Frozen Wilds, do something new.
What is this to go through and play the original game, we'll go over again, refresh me on the story, and hop in the DLC. It's all $20 now.
The thing about the DLC that's really cool, just in case you didn't know, they brought motion capture into the DLC.
Yeah, so
a lot of the animation has been fixed.
The better animations,
facial animations, and better character voice acting is kind of in there because it was voice acted mocap at the same time.
Some of the voice acting in the base game of that was pretty rough. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that they at least started with the DLC making a conscious effort towards fixing some of the more weird spots of the game.
Well, you know what's funny is I've said before, and I know this may be disagreed upon by a lot of people, but I would not consider Horizon to be a system seller.
Oh, I definitely consider it a system seller, despite the fact that it's not perfect. It's
well,
still a fantastic game.
I consider
you know what I mean?
I consider it in a package of games. I would say a system seller. But if somebody was like, "I'm thinking about getting a PS4 for Horizon," is that a good idea? I'm like, Horizon. There's other games too. Like, I would probably recommend them other games before just Horizon to sell somebody on the system.
I don't know, man. Horizon was such a crazy seller that I'd almost go as to call it. I know people who have bought a PlayStation.
Well, I'm saying for me.
Yeah,
I understand that people bought the game for the console, but I'm saying that,
I guess I'm looking at objectively. You're looking at personally.
Subjectively, yeah. I'm saying that like I would not personally recommend somebody buy a PS4 based on Horizon.
Fair.
I would lump it into games with it. I'd say, yeah, if you're gonna buy a PS4 and you come to me with Horizon, get Horizon, but also get The Last of Us remastered and get Shadow of the Colossus and get Dark Souls remastered, and Dark Souls 2 and 3. I would give them a bunch of games. I will say that Horizon 2, I would classify as a system seller for the PS5.
Yeah.
I will say that right there, the quality of that, the different biomes that they showed off in that trailer made it so much. Horizon was never bland. It was the exact opposite. But
I think that's half of what makes it, even when it gets weak, it's still so whimsical and interesting that it carries the game
But
anyway.
It was samey. And this shows you that this is going to be a lot different because there's only like 3 biomes in Horizon. Technically, you had
Frozen Wilds, I guess, adds a 4th.
I'm counting the base because I can't go off that. But snow was in the original game, wasn't it?
I didn't think so.
It's been whenever it came out since I played it.
Yeah, same. But I mean, I remember there being the desert area. I remember there being the foresty
jungle
area,
and like kind of just the overgrown areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, this though underwater,
mountainous region, I guess.
Yeah, underwater. Which looked amazing. The dense jungle at the end of the trailer, looked amazing. I would say
the red sand when she's up on those dunes, I'm like, that looks great.
I will say that I would say I would recommend, like, if you're gonna buy a PS4 and you're buying it only for Horizon, I'm not gonna stop you, but I'll say, hey, get a couple of these other games to go with it.
Yeah.
Because I will say that, like, for me, if all they showed was Horizon 2, if that's all I knew was coming launch on PS5. I would buy a PS5 with Horizon 2, like, okay, cool. I know there's other games, but that will hold me over.
Yeah, sure. Well, to wrap up Horizon, I think the one cool thing that really kind of got me, and I was curious as to whether we'd see this, because in the first game, it was kind of like, well, the machine life forms kind of make it impossible for more normal life forms
to kind of thrive because of how
I guess I should say, like, things like foxes and stuff. You don't see other animal, you don't see other fauna, you see machinery stuff. You see some birds, I think, in the first game, which makes sense. It'd be easier for birds to not be as hampered by the machines. But for the most part, you didn't see much. But I thought this game was really cool in that it immediately showed off the hermit crab setup. It had fish. You had the fox situation. I was like, this is really interesting. I like the idea of bringing some of the... And it makes me wonder...
The fox was dead, though.
Yeah, I know. But is this... But clearly it wasn't decayed, so it was recently dead.
No, it's dead.
But, when you look at it, I assume that this is going to be... not in the same area as the first game. I think it's going to be entirely in a new region.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure that she will travel to get here. Like I'm pretty sure that would be what I would think the game would open up with.
Sure.
I don't know because I don't know how Frozen Wilds ends. I went completely off of a review of Frozen Wilds.
Frozen Wilds isn't on the after. That's the thing. It takes place during the game.
Oh yeah, it does. I honestly hate timeline DLC like that.
I don't mind it.
That's why Kingsglaive for like Final Fantasy 15 is like in between chapter 7 and 8.
Oh, the movie, or you talking about the DLC? The movie is chapter. It takes place right after chapter 1. It's like between chapter 1 and 2.
No, if you look at the actual timeline of when you're supposed to watch that movie and the story, trust me, I'll research this.
Maybe when, but in terms of when it chronologically takes place, it's just probably the most impactful if you watch it later.
Oh, yeah, I can see what you're saying then. Yeah.
But either way, I like the idea of bringing in real animals, and I'm sure that there was probably some reason as to why they didn't do it, whether it was time or technical limitation in the first game.
I'm going to go with technical limitations.
I like coming back
hard
to it. Yeah.
In the original one.
I just think it's a cool idea, and I wonder what they're going to do with that, is how you pull in new ones.
Please add New Game Plus. Because that armor at the end of the game in the first one was really cool, but you really didn't have time to use it that well.
New Game Plus did come into the first game later. Now, it should be there at launch, and that's cool too. But I didn't know if you were aware of that.
So can I take my save from?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, so then I should be able to play through.
And there's difficulty modes now, so you can play on hard.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah. So next up,
added a game. That to me is how you add a replayability to a game that you already have platinum in.
big thing I want from Sony this gen.
Also a good story.
I like that they've supported the games by adding New Game Plus to all of them later, but I really think they need to work on having New Game Plus out day one.
I really see this is, I've said it a million times. I really think they need to worry about setting an expectation going into a generation on that if we are going to see games like a big first party AAA title once every 3 years, set us that expectation and don't reveal games early. Yeah. Because I think that once they reveal a game early, there's immediate pressure to hit a window that people are speculating, making fake rumors about.
And that's why you end up having to get the game
left out because they're having to rush it out.
Sure.
If they didn't release it, like for example, the next one we'll talk about, Spider-Man Miles Morales. Yeah. That's coming this year.
Yes.
That is a launch title, which we now officially know what it really is.
Okay. And that is a good point of conversation. I was surprised at how much controversy this caused. I should say, I think it's fair to say that Sony should have clarified in the trailer, but I guess because I was one of the people who, as soon as I saw it, I said, oh, this is just essentially the Lost Legacy from Uncharted for Spider-Man. It's going to mainly be on the same engine. It's going to be on PS5. That's cool. And it's probably only going to be on PS5, but it's not a full-on sequel. It's just kind of mini new content with Miles that is not a full game. It's probably going to be like 10 hours.
I immediately thought it was a standalone DLC.
Yeah. Or maybe even just a DLC that had PS5 enhancements. I thought one of those two, but I did lean more towards standalone.
And now they've clarified that this is in fact a remaster of a PS5 version of Spider-Man.
No.
What do you mean no?
Been since clarified again.
What do you mean they clarified? They explicitly said this is a remake of Spider-Man with this added.
It's a standalone game.
So are they remaking Spider-Man for PS5 or not?
It doesn't sound like they're remaking it for it. It sounds like, and this is Jason Schreier and some other people.
Hold on here.
And some other people.
No, he is right majority of the time.
Even Insomniac came and put a thing that said this standalone game will be revealed more soon. It's a standalone experience, and the fact that we're still having to, kind of argue essentially over which one it is.
It's like the whole thing
goes to show how bad the messaging was.
Well, it's like the whole thing with the backwards compatibility. We didn't know what get away, fly, shoot, fly. We didn't know what that exactly was. Like, we didn't know if there's only 100 games at launch or if they're all backwards compatibility at launch. Or
they are having a little bit of communication problems within this.
Did you get it? No.
Boy, I thought I did.
I was really like, I wonder if they've deleted that tweet because I for sure saw a tweet saying that this is a remake.
So, do you see right there
where
they said it's a standalone game?
Yeah. See, and this guy says, so is it a remaster? They just say it's a standalone game. So they are not remastering Spider-Man.
This is what I do think, though. It's not a remaster. I think because Spider-Man was such a big game that and it's not that old, and they've been using it to test for PS5 stuff on loading and whatnot. I do think I think the Spider-Man on PS4 will get a backwards compatibility update that makes it look and run better on PS5. I don't think it'll be something you have to buy.
Maybe so.
I do think it'll be free because that game sold so well.
My immediate thought was, why are they remastering?
It's like Grand Theft Auto, right? They're saying that if you own Grand Theft Auto 4, you get it on PS5.
Grand Theft Auto 5, you mean?
Yeah, sorry. I was thinking on PS4, but yeah.
Which I do because I bought it digitally. So we'll
let's just say. So it's interesting that I feel like we didn't see much of Spider-Man Miles Morales, and it's the one that's coming the soonest.
I'll say though, I avoided everything, all announcements until I got home, and the first time I saw those hands, I thought it was Infamous, and I was let down.
Dude, I did too, and it was talking about powers and stuff, and I seen it and I was like, holy crap, is this a new Infamous game?
And I immediately like whenever I saw like the chin of the suit, I'm like, oh man. I will say though, with as much, because I've said it before, I'll say it again here, Spider-Man is also not a system seller. It could be classified at a list of other games to make you buy the system, but I would not recommend a PS4 on Spider-Man alone. I actually think that not dislike, but I like Horizon more than Spider-Man.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I do too.
Spider-Man's
good. I'm not.
Yeah, Spider-Man was a good game. Story had some major pacing problems, but it was an enjoyable ride for the most part.
The problem with Spider-Man is that other superhero games that were too similar showed me that there's other things that are more fun. Like people are like, well, just swinging around your web is fun. I'm like, it is, but it's not as fun as Infamous. Just
it's also not fun for 30 hours. Like
that's true.
That gets old kind of quickly.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, Infamous Second Son came before it. Okay, my thing was like, of course, it feels better than this, but like, it's not that different than just than playing Arkham Knight, using your thing, jumping off of a building, using your cape to go on, come up, and then grapple hook onto a corner, let go before you go on, and it jolts you forward, and then you just keep flying. It's like, that doesn't feel that different than swinging.
I mean,
but Infamous, on the other hand, you could be at the bottom of a building, smoke through a vent, and be at the top in a second.
Yeah.
I was like, that's awesome. Then you could digitize yourself across the sky through a satellite and fly across the other thing. Then you could start running, hit the ground, and just run over the building. And then you could throw down a concrete thing and thrust yourself through. I was like, you have way more traversal stuff to keep it from feeling monotonous and boring. And like, even though it's fluid and fun, it doesn't mean that it's going to be fun forever.
Well, I think that both of mine and yours biggest complaints with Spider-Man, which was the pacing issues in the story, will be fixed with this because it is standalone. It'll be shorter.
Fair. I think so as well.
I honestly think, like, and I actually said it before the game came out, and I think you remember me saying it, that each of these bad guys should have at least 8 to 10 hours of story time with them. And it'd make roughly around a 40-hour story. And they could even do it so that some of the storylines are involving 2 of them. They never did that. They never gave the villains the proper background and stuff. Who's the villain of this?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I'm seeing. Like, are they setting up Venom, which they kind of did at the end? Are they setting up Venom for this?
And then for Venom to be a bigger player in the second game?
Well, one thing I dislike in a game is that when there's a standalone that comes like this, if it ignores the already ongoing story, obviously this is an older Miles. This is a Miles that is at least a couple years older. He was fairly young in the game when you first met him and saved him or whatever.
Yeah. And apparently in the Spider-Man DLC, which I did not play,
I didn't either.
They go towards, you can call this a light spoiler, but I wouldn't. Definitely, since we know that this is here, Peter goes towards training Miles. So
yeah,
this would be him ostensibly at least a year into training.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And my thing is that when you ended Spider-Man normally, you're setting up for something. I don't like DLC of any kind that takes place after the fact of a story, which this has to do because it's older Miles. It would only make sense being after. Featuring a completely new made-up thing that happens in the middle and then it's just done for forever.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Something where they introduce it in here, but then it never matters in the future game.
Yeah, or it's something that's made up just for this character's story. Like, I want him to be part of the bigger story of Spider-Man with Peter Parker.
And I do think
it could be by himself and that it'll still be fine, but I would prefer him to be part of the big setup.
Yeah.
Like, I think that does a couple things for me. That holds me over till the actual sequel.
Yep.
It will expound more on it, which will provide more context in the game for Eddie Brock or something. But they've already done the Sinister Six, the girl, Gwen.
Oh, Gwen.
Or not Gwen.
You're talking about how am I forgetting her name right now? The cat lady.
Yeah, I can't think of her name.
Oh, God.
But Black Canary.
Huh?
Black Canary, right?
No, that's not it.
Who is the Black Canary?
You're going to kill me here.
Black Canary is a character, but it's also a DC. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Black Canary is DC.
Because I was about to say Felicia Hardy's a real name, but Black Cat.
Yeah, but like they set up everything with her, and
then Silver Sable, isn't that who? Isn't that?
Or maybe that's who they have DLC for.
Well, she was in the game, you know.
Yeah,
and I think she did have something to do in the.
But like, who's going to be the bad guy for this? Are they going to throw me another
Tombstone's
chump,
been mentioned already?
Well, I was going to say that was a chump. Are you going to throw me another chump villain at Miles for that to be his entire DLC? Which he is still kind of training, so that may make sense. But I still want to see something like maybe hints at Green Goblin or Eddie Brock. I don't want to be set up with just this baddie I'm going to spam punches on for the entire game and not get a cool setup.
Yeah.
I expect it to be around 12 to 15 hours long, and I expect the pacing to be better than the original game.
I do too.
With it being shorter.
I do too.
And I also expect it to be part of the full-on world.
And you know what's interesting about this? There were rumors that this kind of confirms where people were saying that they saw Spider-Man in New York covered in snow. And the trailer for this, as you can see right here, it is snowing. So that's interesting. And I wonder how much they're going to change New York, or if it's going to be the exact map, but the snow will add an element that makes it feel fresh and interesting.
Yeah, which would be cool.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go through a little bit more of these. And I think this next one is the one I want to spend a little bit more time on, because are kind of like the first two. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. We've been talking about whether or not there's going to be another Ratchet and Clank for PS4 for a long time.
Yeah.
Because it came out, did really well, and then didn't come again. I assume that Spider-Man just took a lot of precedence, and of course they had all their VR games they were working on. But I think that Rift Apart has been being worked on for a long time.
Mm-hmm. You can tell by the quality.
It looks fantastic, and someone else has beat me to the punch. I was already planning on saying this. Going back and rewatching it, definitely because I decided to go back and rewatch most of the trailers that I could in 4K because the stream was only 1080p 30.
Yeah.
And I think that Ratchet and Clank, definitely since you can see everything going on, I think this is probably the best show of the PlayStation 5 from a only can be done on a PlayStation 5 standpoint.
Yeah.
I think the ability, and it does look like it's a little bit controlled and a little bit catered, not catered, what is it? Oh, well, it's kind of controlled that you can't always just reach into a part of the map and pull it forward as you want. But, talking about being able to fly between the planets without any kind of a loading is amazing. Because one of the biggest problems of whenever I went back to Platinum, the first Ratchet and Clank for PlayStation 4, came from the fact that the loading, there's so much loading. And when you have to load between planets, it's like, oh, okay, now I got to wait and load for a little while. And as much as the game was amazing and looked great and ran great, when you're doing it now and you're looking at this, it's like, man, this is going to make the last Ratchet and Clank feel super dated.
Yeah.
And this looks so incredible. Pulling these chunks of the map to you and immediately going around. No pop-in lag, at least on what we saw. Hopefully that's not something that changes with the release. But with what we saw in a controlled environment, pulling the map towards them and immediately going to another part of the map and being fully loaded in, no pop in on the textures.
It also
is
looked
amazing.
it looked like a short distance travel too in most of those. Like it looks like it was like maybe
it wasn't
50, 60 feet away from them.
But still when you look at that in a game, normally when something's 60 feet away from you, this goes to talk about with what they were looking at in the Unreal thing where they were saying that textures normally have to be changed on the fly you have to have a low texture quality and then as you get closer it switches to the middle texture quality and as you get close it goes to high texture quality.
Yeah.
Well, clearly in a game like this where you can suddenly go to another spot with no loading in between, that means that at all times these texture qualities are max.
I will say
which is awesome.
I do think that we did see a glimpse of how fast the SSD is in this game, but also proof that they're still kind of load screens.
In the in between the two barrier things.
There's an animation that I'm going to show you now on video where his body kind of flattens out a little bit and it stays there for maybe 3 seconds, but then it goes back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm almost certain that is a micro load screen. Now it is a blink if you miss it kind of ordeal, but at the same time, it's still there. It's just one of those things that it's done so well and it's done so quickly, it wouldn't have occurred to you. I caught it because I was like, oh, cool, no load screens. I was like, that's kind of a load screen, but it's
and I know which one you're talking
small.
about. When they go through and you have that little bit of a space in between.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
I think that right there is kind of the actual micro, but what they do that's clever is they actually provided some environmental detail around it so you can see, oh, like this is a cool looking beach area.
Yeah, that's another dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then open one around you. And here's the thing, when you can look at, and it's not even a limitation at this point, but if you can work what you're doing into the story, which just makes sense, you're going in the realms between. And if you're only there for a second, it adds to the story of like, this is cool. You're really jumping between things. But it also serves its little hidden purpose of maybe being very short load.
You can notice the stutter I was talking about. Watch right here. You see it?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's almost like where it transitions from the cutscene to a game, to in-game or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
But I will say, this looks fantastic. I've never been...
Dude, graphically, the 4K version of this looks utterly insane.
I've never been a master fan of Ratchet and Clank, not because of anything in particular. I've just never played them.
Sure.
I actually have, and I meant to ask you this last week, is the Ratchet and Clank on PS4, is that the original game? Like remastered or remade?
It's remade with some changes that the original game didn't. That they didn't do. Some things they always wanted to do. Some things they just thought worked better.
So, honestly, that would probably be the best way to get into Ratchet and Clank.
Yes,
then. Okay.
absolutely.
And
I think that you would enjoy it from a pure gameplay standpoint.
Oh, I was always a Jack and Daxter guy.
Yeah,
I loved Jack and Daxter, especially 3.
Far more linear. This is far more linear. It always has been, always will be.
Right.
But it does have large.
Well, Jack 1
scope.
was pretty linear.
You know what I mean?
In a way.
Yeah. So, but I think you would really enjoy it. But I would be interested. It's a good way. It's a good time to get into it.
Well, I'm definitely picking that up because that looks like a blast to play. Because
you know what's crazy about Ratchet and Clank, though? I said this during the stream. That I cannot think of a studio besides like NetherRealm that has only really ever made essentially fighting games, and most of those Mortal Kombat.
Right.
From a platformer standpoint, and even just because all of them are around. Crash Bandicoot's still around. Spyro's still around in a weird way. You have a ton of franchises that are still around, but outside of Mario, and it's still not a single developer. There's other teams going around on it. I can't think of another studio that's worked on one franchise and still makes them to this day and still makes them new and present. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think of another studio that is. I mean, even Halo. Halo's not being made by Bungie anymore. Right? Little Big Planet not being made by Media Molecule anymore. It's being made by Sumo Digital, which we'll get to when we talk about the Sackboy's Big Adventure. Yeah. So when you kind of look at those things going wrong, it's really interesting that even being bought, Insomniac just clearly have a love for Ratchet and the series because of how big its basic idea from a scale is, that there's multiple worlds and planets and ships. It's kind of got endless possibility. You know?
I think that what's crazy about that is that what we're talking about in a positive, people often look at as a negative. Because how many times have you heard all Nintendo does is Zelda and Mario?
Sure.
And that's what they've been doing for 30 plus years.
Sure. No, you're right. Now, I will say there's nothing wrong with having evergreen franchises.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's big weights between Ratchet and Clank games.
You saw Insomniac branch out with Sunset Overdrive, which I still kind of want to go back and play.
They branched out with Fuse. Wasn't a great game, but they did it.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That was an EA thing.
Yeah.
They branched out with Resistance and did something that was that had parts of Ratchet that you'd expect in it, like the weapon wheel and crazy weapons.
Oh, okay.
But way more grounded and way different.
Yeah.
So, but when you look at that, man, I think that there's no problem with having evergreen franchises. But I think that your breaks between them need to be longer than what Nintendo typically do. It gets annoying when there's a new Ratchet. If there was a new Ratchet and Clank game every year or two, it'd be kind of annoying. It'd kind of be like, okay, can y'all not do anything else? But also, that developer's making a whole bunch of other stuff. So no hate on Nintendo. Clearly, that's what people like. And I think a lot of people like to go into a thing and be like, I want to play more Yoshi with a new gimmick. And not gimmick in the bad sense, but just a gimmick in general. So anyway, when looking at that, the next thing to talk about is probably my most excited moment of this entire thing, if I'm being really honest. As cool as Horizon was, when it finally clicked with me that what we were seeing was Demon's Souls.
It didn't click with me till the music actually kicked in with the flying in.
When they showed the mountain with the snow on it, I said, wait a minute.
That didn't click with me because I was thinking that could be a number of any snowy mountains in any games.
Oh, yeah, but I remember that scene, and I was like, this happens right before the eagle thing. And then as you're calling it.
Eagle thing. Well, I'm doing that for a reason.
But, with as soon as you see the body being dragged by the item, I knew it. As soon as I saw that mountain, I was like, no, the next scene is the body being dragged. And then it did it. I was
seeing the Fume Knight armor, seeing the Tower Knight, seeing the Dragon God. Dude, that game... Tower Latria, that you saw some really, really cool stuff in this trailer. And
I like that most of it was kind of the cutscenes in the original game that were like boss reveals.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like most of it, not all of it. The Reaper enemy is not a boss, but it's still a cool part of the thing.
I can't think of what that Taurus was, the Flaming Taurus. I remember the area, but I can't think of the name of that boss.
Oh, I do. Ask me to remember half the names of those. I don't remember most of them.
Yeah, but
then you have easy ones like this, like Shield Knight, which is
Tower Knight. Yeah, you got that wrong. You said easy.
Tower Knight, yeah. I said it earlier.
Tower Knight. That's like the second boss.
I said Tower Knight earlier
you have
too.
Phalanx first. That's the first boss.
Yeah, Phalanx is the boss that everyone thought, am I actually supposed to kill this?
Yeah.
Until you don't. But no, that looks fantastic. And I also like that it's Blue Point Games and Japan Studio.
Well, no, Phalanx was the first boss in the game. Not the tutorial boss. The boss where you go into the castle.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It's like the Phalanxes from like Sparta.
Yeah, you're right. The first boss is like that ogre-y, big, crazy dude.
It's a demon. I honestly can't remember the names of half of these bosses, though, because I'm telling you, it's been at least 6 years, 5 years since I played Demon's Souls.
You played Demon's Souls more recently than I have. I played it when it came out. That's it.
That does not matter.
Yeah. So both of us are going to be forgetful on names, but I'm so excited for people to get to play that game again. It looks really great, and if you're a fan of the From games and you've never gotten around to playing this, you've got a really interesting thing to go. Now, what's crazy about this is it's Blue Point and Japan Studio. Japan Studio was the support studio to help finish Demon's Souls, and it's the reason that Sony ended up buying it and getting the IP. It was originally not intended to be a Sony exclusive. There's a lot of really cool history around how Demon's Souls got made.
I wonder, can this be multi-platform?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't see it. I mean, Sony owned the IP. 100%. They would be the ones that determine it being multi-platform. And since Bloodborne, at least at this point, is still not multi-platform, I say no. Well, the moment that Bloodborne goes multi-platform, or I should say to at least PC, the moment Bloodborne goes to PC, then maybe you see Demon's Souls on PC in the future.
Yeah.
Now, the last thing I'll talk about with Demon's Souls that I'm really interested about, I don't know if it's going to happen. But if Japan Studio is involved, and if From is involved in any capacity at all, Miyazaki at any capacity at all, one of the things about the game that everybody thinks about is the headstones. Not the headstones. What are they called? The
Nexus.
Yeah, the Nexus that you're in. You know how there's the stones that represent the areas that you go off and break out to. The one that's broken was originally intended to be in the game, and that is actually, even though the game shows it in the cutscene, even the original. The Snowy Mountain, that's what that place is supposed to be. There's supposed to be a temple, all sorts of stuff in it. So my hope here, even though I think it's kind of a really, I don't expect it, but my hope would be that with working with Japan Studio, hopefully people who helped make the game, and then talking with Miyazaki, the files for a lot of the stuff in that was still in the game. They just couldn't finish it due to time constraints, and the game was really close to just not being made. Yeah. So they cut it.
Well, you know what's crazy?
So does that come back?
It's always a Miyazaki thing specifically for ice levels to be hidden. They are in Dark Souls 3 behind DLC. They are in Dark Souls 1 to the painting.
Is that just him going back to the fact that he had to cut that in the original game?
I wonder if he's going to help with this and it'll be another hidden area to get to.
I don't know. That'd be really cool.
Is there a snowy level in Dark Souls 2? Of course there is, but what is it called?
I don't know, because Dark Souls 2 is the one I have the least experience with.
You still need to play it.
I actually thought about playing it, but I'm not going to play that right before The Last of Us because I'm not going to beat it, and then I'm going to get off of it. So I'm going to play it after The Last of Us 2 probably. But yeah, I hope that's a thing we see is maybe the ability to just play the game with the content that was missing. That still was kind of fleshed out, so it wouldn't be crazy for them to come back into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you'd have not only all the content you loved, you'd have new content. Be really cool.
It would be.
The Return of the Nexus is probably the thing I'm most excited about because I feel like the Nexus is one of those super cool things that makes Demon's Souls really unique. But I've always wished that it would find a way to bring
having like
come back
the blacksmith
in Dark Souls.
Yeah,
it would have been kind of cool if the Nexus was in Bloodborne.
It's kind of what Dark Souls 3 did with Firelink Shrine.
Yeah. I mean, it's still not entirely it, but it's the closest they've been.
It is the closest they've been because Majula is also kind of it, but Majula is also a really open area in Dark Souls 2.
Sure.
And Dark Souls 1 was just really interconnected with nothing like that at all.
Yeah. Very different setup. All right. So a little surprising. One of the things that's been teased for a long time and rumored is that Gran Turismo 7 was going to be shown. Now, the one thing that isn't surprising is they did not put any kind of date on it. So we don't know when it's going to be. It doesn't look like it's going to be a launch window title, but it could be. And that's the kind of thing that gets weird right now. We just don't know on a lot of this
I'm not
stuff.
a Gran Turismo fan, so I don't really have any input on that one.
Yeah, no, fair. Okay, Sackboy, Big Adventure. I'll run through this one quick. It looks like they're kind of taking Sackboy and doing what I always thought they should have done.
A 3D platformer.
Just make it a 3D platformer because I personally like the platforming in those games. I like the feel of it, the weight of it. Putting that and transitioning it into a 3D world is not hard. People found ways to do it in Little Big Planet 2, so doing it yourself and dedicating the game to that while still keeping the visual style, the collector style, and the multiplayer style of Little Big Planet, great. And I like that they didn't call this Little Big Planet. They were like, it's the IP,
it's separate.
But this is Sackboy.
This reveal had two very Mario style heavy things that PlayStation has been lacking.
Mario Galaxy specifically is what I picked up from a lot of this. And I'm not a huge Mario fan, but when I was looking at a couple of that, these just look like the Mario. It feels like the way that a lot of the camera and stuff worked within Mario Galaxy.
Astro's Playroom. Yes. Or whatever it's called. Super Mario Sunshine. Is what I got from that.
Fair. Astrobot Rescue, the one from VR, constantly gets compared to like a Mario or Nintendo platformer in general.
And Sony honestly needs more of these very bright, very
family-friendly
3D platforms.
Yep.
The platformers. To me, that's honestly like Nintendo is always one of those companies that if at any given time, if I want to play a 3D platformer and Nintendo has my back, I want the same thing for Sony.
Yeah.
Sony's good on everything else in the world that I like, first-person shooter stories. That's the sore lacking point for them.
Yeah, and they've tried a few times and it's never done very well.
Yeah.
They had Tearaway, and Tearaway's a fantastic game. It just didn't take off.
Tearaway was a really unique game only on one system.
I was about to say I didn't play the PS4 version, so I have
I watched
no remarks to that.
And I'm like, that's kind of watered down. Also, this next game, it sounds cool.
Yeah.
But man, is there really, really, really terrible Uncanny Valley with her suit and her face.
So this is from Housemarque, who made a ton of the games that you may have known or at least heard people talk about. They made Resogun. They've made what is the name of the game? It's killing me. I'm suddenly
what's it like?
A bunch of them are shooters, actually. There is. And you know what? Instead of just trying to remember and guess, I like Housemarque, but I don't play all their games. It's not Dead Nation, is it? It's
Resogun's really good.
Resogun's great.
I tried to go for the platinum for that game, and that platinum was way too hard.
Okay, Super Stardust was a launch game, and they made Super Stardust. Next Machina and Matterfall were the two that I was thinking of. So
Next Machina, I know Matterfall. I don't know
shooter
that
game. It's a shooter game. They make it very arcadey games, but with them coming back with Returnal, this is really cool because it's them. If you remember, there was some talk about them changing up and moving away while still trying to retain some of what made their studio unique, which is their very arcade-driven setup. This is the first time we've seen them move into what looks like a fully 3D, much larger scale game, and I'm really excited to see what that plays out for them. And also, I think that this is starting to smell like Housemarque is going to be a purchase from Sony,
possibly,
very soon.
I
think this game may be the deciding point.
I will say though, her face in that spacesuit looks like Tony Stark's face in the original Iron Man when it's green screened over his armor. There's something off about that.
Yeah.
I don't like it. The story's really cool because it's essentially Live, Die, Edge of Tomorrow, aka Live, Die, Repeat. Because I forgot they changed the name of that movie.
Yeah.
But this next one though, we excited for Twisted Metal?
Okay.
This one looks really good.
I'm excited for it while also being bummed that they couldn't just do this with Twisted Metal. Because it's like...
I get you.
Twisted Metal is Sony's oldest IP. It's their oldest franchise, and there hasn't been anything through it from the entire PS4.
What's cool about this one, though, is that you can, like, when your car gets totaled, you have to run away from all the other cars out in the arena. And I think that, to me, is like I've said before, I get really giddy or terrified of, like, when I'm running from something and they're, like, close, and I'm like, like, get away. And, like, I feel like somebody trying to run me over in this would be really fun. So
this looks cool because it also, when I first saw it, like, this looks like if you kind of mix Twisted Metal and Rocket League together.
Yes.
And that's really cool. So if that's your kind of interesting thing, it's essentially you being in an arena and doing car combat, but it's not as brooding and dark as Twisted Metal. It's a little more lighthearted and looks a lot more like what you'd expect to see from like a Rocket League style game. So that's cool. And I like that it's a new IP, which another shout out to that. New IP here and return of IP that's not been used much in the last generation. That's what we wanted to see. I'm okay with them. I don't want to see only sequels to games that have come out this generation. I want to see IP that's not been used since maybe the PS3 or a brand Little Big Planet 3 was a weird one. It was like so early in the gen, and I actually think it may have been a cross-gen game. As crazy as that sounds.
I think it was too, because I remember didn't who bought that and brought that to Blaze's house?
Me.
But was it? I remember you there, but somebody brought it to you, didn't they?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm the one who bought the game. I had it.
Well, I remember like we did the Friendsgiving thing.
Yeah.
And maybe Blaze didn't have it. Who went to Walmart or something while we hung out and then brought it back.
I don't know.
I remember that game being very glitchy.
It was the first time Sumo Digital had made one. Gotcha. And it was still good, but it wasn't. It didn't have the same charm.
I'm just going off of what I played at Brett's or Blaze's house.
So we've already talked about Astro's Playroom from Japan Studios, and that's going to be a free pack-in game, and that's awesome. I wonder if it'll be bigger in scale. So those are the ones that we know that are coming from first-party Sony-owned IP that they're doing with first or second-party studios.
Now we have the cool stuff to get to. The some of the coolest parts of this that were the indie games, and starting off with Bugsnax. I thought it was kind of cool, but like at the same time, I was like, I really would rather see something else right now than this game from this reveal. Like that, it kind of got in the way to me of like, I know that there's cooler stuff in this reveal, but like, I rather get on to the cooler stuff.
I don't know, man. It was so cute to me, and again, it's edged so much into the area of it being a versatile and varied showcase that I loved it. It's just on, and I'm just laughing. I think that the video itself is cute. It showed off what the game's going to be really well. I like the basic idea of the game, the whole you are what you eat, and turning that into a gameplay mechanic. That's fun.
Majin Buu.
It also, to be fair, there is some like a weird nostalgia to this because it makes me think if anybody watches the Cyanide and Happiness, the Explosive comics, they have one of their video series that they've done is their character Ted Bear. It's actually voiced by Ego Raptor.
Oh wow!
So Ted Bear goes through, and there's similar things. Or like there's one time where he lifts something up, and he's like banana slugs or whatever, and it's like they're edible. He's like, and they're mating, and it's just a ridiculous thing where it gave me nostalgia of that, the way that they chose to show it. But I was also laughing because of the just ridiculous music. I showed it to Hannah, and she was laughing too. The little Bugsnax song playing in the background that they wrote for it. It's just cute, and I like to see stuff like that. So personally, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But
for me, it was kind of weird. Like, I probably won't pick it up, but like, it's cool that they had something like that.
I will definitely pick it up. It's more of a game than Octodad was, and I think that's
true.
That's what
Octodad was like. Was what I classify as a streamer game.
Super fun, super funny.
It's one you want to watch somebody play, or you're only playing to experience it because you watch somebody else play it. Like
kind of
what is it called? Getting With It with Benny Fodder or whatever it is. It's the mouse only game where you're trying to climb up a mountain with a pick.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I bought that game because it looked like it was super hard, only because I watched a streamer play it, and I'm like, that looks fun. Let me play that. I'll never play that game again. It was only to be like, I want to see this. Goodbye for Volcano High. Don't know what this is. I don't know. I'm going to guess it is a visual novel.
I don't know. Yeah,
it is. We saw nothing but animation. It was nothing but an animated movie in a way for a commercial for this, or advertisement for this. We didn't see any kind of gameplay. We didn't,
or at least gameplay that was evident that it was gameplay.
Yeah, and we don't know who the main characters are, like, because there are so many characters shown. It essentially looks like you're part of a group of dinosaurs going to high school.
Okay, I'll say this though. I like the idea of it's like it's taking it does something like the Dinosaurs sitcom that was made by Michael Jacobs that I love. Where it's kind of like putting dinosaurs as if they were living in like a human-like civilization before the.
That's what this game totes too. Is
came.
That it's a cinematic narrative game that touches on love, friendship, and self-realization in the final days of civilization.
Yeah,
my
which is
thing
crazy.
Is that that's a kind of a cool story to touch on, but it's going to be hard to nail what dinosaurs did. Dinosaurs ended so darkly,
dude. It's so good.
It is, but it ended like that. That was a messed up way to end a kid's show.
Yes, it was. Well, it wasn't a kid's show though, because it was a family show, and there was a ton of
that was a kid's
show.
Dude,
there was drug references. They had the sexual harassment.
That was for the parents that had to watch it.
Okay, but you're telling me kids are going to find it funny that you're going to court for
Rugrats had the same thing
from a guy whose name's Sexual Harris.
Rugrats, Grandpa literally joked about playing Russian roulette.
Yeah, I know, but those are small Easter eggs, whereas their entire episodes. Even
Stu was like, "What did you win?" He's like, "I'm home, aren't I?" And I was like,
it's a remark and a small one that doesn't play into the episode. Dinosaurs had entire episodes about drugs, about all sorts of crazy stuff, of having people go off and die.
To be fair, it was a lot of cartoons do that, but they just disguise it up.
Exactly, but this show was a little. Kids could watch it, and I watched it as a kid and loved it. But as an adult, it's 100% enjoyable without ever even being like, oh, it's a kid show with adult themes. It's it's just a all ages show.
I guess so.
That kids can also.
I never
watch.
Looked at it that way.
I loved it though. It's a great show. So I love that idea. To wrap up on it, it gives me Life is Strange vibes. So I wonder if it's going to be an episodic title that is kind of like
give me My Life is Strange or The Walking Dead. It gave me a visual novel heavy vibe.
Yeah, or just one of those, or what do they call those? Adventure games, essentially what they are, like the Detroit and stuff like that, where it's going to be something where you're making decisions, and that's really what. And I'm cool with
Life is Strange.
Yeah, exactly. It's just episodic instead. Yeah. So this could be episodic, or it could be just a 100%.
It had a really, really cool design aesthetic to it.
It did.
It reminded me of something, and I don't know what it is, but it's like I've seen this kind of art before somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, what you got up next?
Jet the Far Shore from Super Brothers and Pine Scented. So this one's kind of interesting. Didn't really care about it that much, though.
I'm trying to remember that one.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's the kind of forgettable one. It's this one right here. It
was the trailer was super vague, right?
It is. the one that's in space, and like I don't know what this game is like trying to accomplish. Like I don't know if this is like No Man's Sky, because like we see gameplay in it, but like I don't know.
And I'm not even entirely sure if it's gameplay. That was kind of my issue with it.
Yeah. It's just one of those weird things like where it's I don't know what this game is, therefore I cannot be hyped for it. It's the same thing for Project Athia. I'm not excited for that game because
the part of this that bothered me more than anything
is it's coming out this year.
It's coming out this year, and this is how you choose to show it.
Don't know what it is.
So yeah, this was one of the ones that I guess I should say it didn't throw me out. It just made me confused. It kept my attention because of it.
For me,
but I wish I knew what it was.
Yeah, for me, there are times in which a game is revealed and it does not tell me what it is, and it does not do a good job of like, oh, that's mysterious. I'm curious as to what I see this game become.
Yeah.
Other than just like throwing out like what looks to be like I should, or like a trailer that I should know what this game is and I don't.
Yeah.
We'll get on that here a little bit later. Next up though is Kenna, Bridge of the Spirits from Ember Labs. That looks fantastic.
Amazing. And you know what's weird? When they first started talking about it, they're like, well, we're an animation studio typically, but we're getting in the... I was like, okay. Yeah. And then they showed it off. I was like, visually, this is stunning.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's cool. But then when they actually started showing off, like, I feel like a lot of people, when they come into games and they're really great in another area, they tend to do something that's pretty simplistic on the game side. Doesn't take anything away from it, but they're like, we're going to do a narrative driven. There will be gameplay, but it's not going to be anything too complicated. But once this kind of started breaking out into having full-fledged combat, full-fledged puzzle solving,
yeah, and I was telling you, it reminded me of like Pikmin in a way with some mechanics that it has. Yeah. It looks super cool. This honestly is one of my like 3 to 4. There's another game in here that I'm curious about too, but this is a combination of games that made me left really excited for this event overall. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think that I'll classify this event as really good and not great or fantastic, because there was like so many things in here that I love to see. There's a lot of things in here that I was like, meh. Kind of like the next one up. Or no, not like the next one up. It'll be the next one after that. But Little Devil Inside from NeoStream Interactive. This is another one that I was showing my wife. This one to me, kind of cute looking, but it reminded me of... is a game that just came out not too long ago, and it's made by I want to say it's made by the same people who made I can't think of what they're called now.
Well, what type of game is it?
It looks like that. Like that's the art style that game does.
Ashen?
Maybe so, yeah.
The game that's kind of a Souls-like?
Yeah.
Yes. I don't actually know who the developer of that is, though. And it could be this developer. I don't know.
It's NeoStream.
Yeah, NeoStream Interactive.
I don't know who made it. But I showed it to my wife, and at first, I wasn't really interested in it, but then as the trailer went on, I was like, this looks pretty cool. And like I kind of left the trailer at the end of the trailer. Like,
at first, it was like good editing. Yeah. Because of it switching back and forth, it makes you curious. And then it became funny editing whenever they had the guy on the rope dropping the bomb, and then you see the guy on the toilet, and it's like you hear the water plop, like his poop hit the water. Yeah. I was like, that's just cute.
Well, what's weird is like that's obviously a Death Stranding reference right here.
That's what it looks like.
It does. At the same time, it's like I don't know what this game is supposed to be, because the art style is so cool, but it's also so varied in its location.
Yeah, and it looks like it's kind of a catch-all from stuff. I'm wondering if it's more like a mission-based structure game where you're kind of doing something like Monster Hunter, where you're thrown into an environment and you have a mission to succeed, and maybe they're going to play it up where it's not always going to be hunting animals. Maybe you have something else, but you're always going to be, because there's so many biomes.
Yeah,
that was the other thing for this. I mean, it could be all set up, but I feel like it's going to be a mission structure game where you get things that you need out of that. I'm trying to understand the connection between the old professor looking dude, as I'll call him. I don't really know how to say it other than that. And the character that we see being what looks like you're the main playable character. So.
It could be like a story being told, and he's a character in the story, like from a kid's perspective or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Next up is Oddworld Soulstream. Soulstorm, yeah. I don't like Oddworld at all. So
really? Have you played?
I got it when it was on PS Plus, the one that came out on PS4.
Oh, new and tasty.
Yeah.
No, and that one is what this one's going to be like. So if you don't like that,
I am not a fan of the game.
Now, as a whole, though,
I played the original one on Xbox.
Stranger's Wrath.
Yes.
Or Munch's Odyssey.
Odyssey.
Munch's Odyssey.
Munch's Odyssey.
It's far more like the original. I think the one that you would like, because it's vastly different from all these. It's essentially a third-person shooter, or a first-person shooter, if you want it to be, I think. Trying to remember, but...
well, I liked Odyssey. Munch's Odyssey.
Well, it was more open and 3D, but it was still all puzzle-solving. My favorite one, personally, so far, has been Stranger's Wrath, because you have the puzzle solving elements and it's set in a 3D world, but you have combat, and they mix puzzle solving and combat together because you get what's called live ammo in that game.
Yeah.
So you have a crossbow, but you can go and farm ammo in the game. I think I've told you about this before, but you'll see like a hive, and you can get little bee things from it that you can shoot, and it stings people and it has a reaction. Then there's these little fuzzy things that you can get that do something different.
I do remember
and
this.
that all comes into if there's a bounty system. And whenever you find the people that you're going after a bounty on, you can either take them in dead.
You're a bounty hunter in that game, aren't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can take them in dead, but you get less money, or you can take them in alive, and depending on the bait you're using or the live ammo that you're using is going to depend on what you're doing to them. So you can make them unconscious so that you can come up to them. It's like you can stun them, I should say, so that you can come up to them and tie them up, or you can kill them. It kind of depends on what's best for you. And throughout areas as you're fighting, you have refill spots for different things so that you can kind of play on what you want to do in the moment. And it's also got a really good story. And even though I think the gameplay probably from New and Tasty is what is not that fun to you, because it is very different.
Yeah.
The world and story of Oddworld, all the games are awesome. It's just playing them to get to them is hit or miss for me. I like the original Oddworld. I didn't play New and Tasty. I don't know if I'd be able to play it now. It's very puzzle solvy.
Yeah.
And I think that my taste has just changed, but I do love the worlds. So it's not, again, if you see, and I don't know if it's on, I think it's on PS4. If you see Stranger's Wrath on PS4 and it is on there and it's on sale, buy it. It's really good.
Next up, we have Stray from Blue 12 Studios. Cat game in like cyberpunk world.
No joke, dude.
This looks
That
really
looks so good.
The cat with like a little backpack.
And the cat looks so cute.
Yeah, I am down for it.
I am really curious as to the trailer spent a lot of time showing that there are no humans. It's all
like
robots
yeah.
doing human things.
Yeah, it's like you're like a delivery cat.
Yeah.
And
Death Stranding with cats.
pretty much, yeah.
It looks good, but it's one of those things where, and I like Annapurna, they do a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you're kind of just in the in-between.
I agree. Solar Ash from Heart Machine. I said Heart Fracture earlier. I don't know why I said
I heard
Heart
you, but I
Fracture.
just didn't worry about it.
From Heart Machine, the people who made one of my beloved games is Hyper Light Drifter. This one looks really, really, really well done.
It takes every bit of what I liked about
Hyper Light Drifter.
Drifter.
It made it 3D and not pixelated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The art style is like you see it and you're like, that's clearly Hyper Light Drifter.
Yeah, and my thing is that it looks like it's going to throw you into an actual open world game like Hyper Light Drifter did and give you no direction.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about Hyper Light Drifter.
Yeah.
It's what I loved about Link to the Past.
And
you get out of Link, like the first hour Link to the Past, you're not told explicitly where to go in what order. You're just like, here, there are pendants on this map. Go get the pendants.
What this kind of makes me think of though too, and I feel like I would not be surprised to see other people thought this. It also has a little bit of a Journey feel to it. And I don't know if you ever played Journey.
I played a little bit of Journey,
but it has that feel.
I don't think I beat it.
And I'm wondering how well that will kind of jive together because I assume it'll have thoughtful, decent combat, much like Hyper Light Drifter had. So if it's got that in it, how's that going to play into this 3D aspect? But I'm definitely excited for it. There's a ton of indie games that hit throughout the PS4 gen that I'm so excited for their sequels because it's just like, where do they go?
Yeah.
It's like, this is a spiritual successor more. And then you have Silk Song, which is a actual sequel within the exact same world with a character
right.
Coming from Hollow Knight. And it's really cool. I hope to see these games just really kill it and come out and do good. This looks fantastic, so here's the hope and it'll prove me wrong. So here's probably the funniest part as we go into third-party games. The opening...
Skip over this one, please.
Dude, all I'm going to say for one reason is that the opening, after, and even in the same video, you have Jim Ryan at the end of the video saying, we believe in generations and we want things that are on PS5 and only work on PS5 and make the console purchase worth it.
And then I do believe Grand Theft Auto 5.
I do believe that they showed that throughout the whole conference, but starting with Grand Theft Auto 5 after you've been talking about generations, it's just like, y'all didn't think that was probably not... show that later.
Yeah, and let it last. Don't show it like this. So for those that don't know, Grand Theft Auto 5 is coming to PS5 with obviously PS5 enhancements done to it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be free if you own PlayStation or if you own PS or Grand Theft Auto 5. And I think online is going to be free from what I've heard. I don't know how
here
true that
it
is.
Actually goes into it right here. It says, plus a new standalone version of Grand Theft Auto Online will be available free for 3 months exclusively on PlayStation 5.
So are they saying that Grand Theft Auto Online?
So are they saying it's going to be exclusive, or are they saying it's going to be free? Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird one.
So is Grand Theft Auto Online going to a pay service because it's free? Unless it's going to be a 100% separate.
I think that's what it's going to be.
Okay.
They're saying it's a standalone version of Grand Theft Auto Online.
Okay.
So maybe for people that only are buying the game because they want to play multiplayer, maybe they're going to give you 3 free months of it, but then you can just buy multiplayer only if that's the only reason you're buying.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Let's get through these last couple ones.
Ghostwire Tokyo. Yes. Finally getting to see this. Hugely different than what I thought. Looks amazing.
It looks like a mixture of Dishonored and BioShock.
we kept calling it Japanese Cyberpunk. BioShock.
Yeah.
Plus Naruto. Because they're like throwing out the little hand symbols from Naruto and doing crazy stuff with it. Looks fantastic. And I got to give Bethesda credit here. For as much as they've been getting crapped on, a lot of rightfully so, the downside they've had recently through this gen was that a lot of their great games, Wolfenstein 2 is actually really good.
Yeah.
Dishonored, amazing. Prey was good, but I think it was... I don't think anybody knew what that game was going to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what hit people. But they've had a lot of good games this generation, but all their big ones have been shrouded in so much controversy that it's gotten weird, and they've all sold well, but been in controversy. And then their games that didn't have controversy didn't sell well. Is kind of one of those weird things. But Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop, I'll go ahead and knock both of those out since they're Bethesda.
Yeah.
Both of those looked amazing. Both of those sold me on them as soon as I saw them.
Deathloop 100% day
and
one.
Bethesda is kind of coming back around to like, okay, I'm with you on these games. I'm a little less with Bethesda on their biggest games because they always seem to fumble something.
Yes. Whereas you didn't really have much fumbling with Dishonored.
No, dude. Dishonored was perfect.
Right.
And ran well, played well, looked great. Was one of my favorite games of this generation, and that's what I'll bring up about Deathloop. I actually see some similarities between both of these games, but Deathloop, I love the idea of them going through where it's like you're playing through a loop of a situation, and as you die, you have to kind of go through and rethink it. But I wonder if they're going to pull in some A Way Out, which is that game where you are escaping from prison together. That's you play the game with somebody else, as far as I understand. I don't think you can play it by yourself.
Deathloop?
Not Deathloop. We don't know for sure, but A Way Out. I would like if Deathloop, if every time you're playing, whoever you choose to play as, it match makes you with someone else.
That would be cool.
Who's the opposing person?
I noticed that it said you can play as one of the two characters, and I'm like, well, if I'm playing against an NPC, like, what happens when I just kill him?
Yeah.
Does the game end, or like, do I go to the next chapter? Like, I don't know. I don't get it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, but from a gameplay standpoint, looks amazing.
We finally saw footage of Godfall, or more footage.
And apparently more was shown again at the PC event that was later in the week.
Well, and that's kind of what that ends. We'll end that on an interesting note here, but that looks fine. It looks a little repetitive in environments. Like, it looks like the same stuff we've seen before.
I don't feel like I wanted not a deep dive. I wanted a deeper dive. I didn't want something that felt like a trailer. I wanted pure unedited gameplay.
I want 30 minutes of this game, and I want them to explain the system of the game, because here's what's weird. We're still hard at work and can't wait for players to experience Godfall when it makes it to its console debut on PS5 and launches on PC this holiday season.
Yeah. No, they've already announced it is a launch game.
Yeah.
Now, here's my biggest thing. Godfall looks really interesting, and I actually think it can be still. I can't do live service games forever. It's just not who I am. I can't literally play a game for a whole year. I don't do that. But Destiny, I do have some base problems with, even though I do think Destiny's a good game. I'm not crapping on it at all. But it's easy for me to get out of the mood of Destiny. Super easy.
Yeah.
I think the only reason I've never gotten to really play Warframe for super long stints is because I don't have anybody to play with, and those type of games are just really good on a community level. If Godfall and other people I know will go into Godfall, and so far there are other people I know who I'd be able to play with.
I'm going into it.
This game, if they can show me that it's going to be really well made, and what I'm going to get out of it, this game being a little bit more, being third person, I already think is a better thing for me. Being faster and being a little bit more sword based, great for me. I've always said I wish Destiny was playable in PvE stuff in third person because I don't see there being a reason not. PvP is different. I think that makes sense. But to me, this fixes a lot of what I want, and I genuinely, I happen to like these action, more combat-driven games that aren't just shooting. So this looks awesome. But I need to see more of it. I need to see the game. I don't need to see another trailer with a rap song over it.
Yeah.
Nothing against rap. It's just, it seemed like a weird song choice.
Yeah, it's always the weirdest songs they use to hype people up. Like, that goes for everything. Like, there's dubstep songs or some things. Like, I guess I hype some people up, but, like, It's never songs I like.
It didn't turn me off, but it was just like, okay. Okay, so we can talk about probably the stupidest move of this whole thing.
We're going to talk about it for 10 seconds. They announced a game that had no name.
Yep.
And we don't know when we'll ever see it again. And it's Square Enix, which tells us that'll probably be 13 years from now.
So, to me, all across the board, I hope that this is a real new Square Enix IP. I'm fine with it being exclusive to PlayStation. Doesn't matter. And actually, that may not be true. There's some wording changing on the YouTube version. They actually
did change the wording on the trailer. It went from play exclusively on PS4 to play...
designed exclusively for PS5 to
PS5.
Designed for PS5. Yeah. Which is like, well, what is...
If it's not exclusive anymore, like exclusively made for it, then what does that mean?
I want, and two things were made this interesting. This is on Luminous Engine.
Yeah.
After Square has said that they're moving all their games to Unreal Engine 4 and presumably 5 when it comes around.
Which is crazy because Luminous Engine for them sucks because how many games have they moved off of it?
Well, apparently Kingdom Hearts had no problems on it, but they just decided to standardize, is what Tetsuya Nomura says. I don't know if I believe that. But... I think that even if Luminous Engine is hard to work on, I'm excited for this because I think Luminous Engine actually looks better than Unreal Engine 4, at least as they use it.
Yeah.
And definitely when you go towards realistic, Kingdom Hearts being not realistic, Kingdom Hearts looks fantastic. Kingdom Hearts 3 actually looks a lot better than Final Fantasy 7 to me, the remake. It's way more consistent for sure.
Yeah, it's more consistent, 100%.
But even then, I want this to come, but how many lessons can you learn? Every beginning of the generation, we get one game from a Japanese publisher who's being overly ambitious. It's almost always exclusive.
Where's Deep Dive?
Where's Deep Down? Where's Deep Down? Clearly, we never got Final Fantasy Versus 13. We got a weird bastardized version of something that used the same characters, but it is not Final Fantasy 13 Versus.
Yeah, no,
it is not. So you feel like they would learn these things. Agent, that's another one. Stop talking about games when they're not even really gone. The only hope I can have here is that this game is way further in development than they're leading on.
And they just
seems
don't
so
know what
unlikely.
To call it.
Seems so unlikely. And that's why they showed it, is because they're far enough along ago. Yeah, this is able to be finished within a year.
This is one of the games.
Seems unlikely.
It's one of those games that I do not care about until I have a release date because I want to see it forever.
I agree. Hitman 3, more Hitman. If you liked what Hitman's been doing, you get more of it, and it's probably going to be better without having to worry about load times and all that.
Which is probably the same goes for NBA
2K21.
NBA 2K21.
Legitimately, the only part of the show I was bored.
Yeah, like it showed me.
It looked great.
Showed me a sweaty dude, and I'm like, that's cool.
That's cool tech, but.
We knew this game was coming because it's a yearly franchise, so why is this here?
And you knew it was going to look fantastic because sports games, definitely basketball games, always look good. They're easy. There's very controlled little sections. Awesome. That's cool. I have no problem with that, but I was bored. Deathloop we already talked about, which is awesome. So 2 more to knock out, and they're both from Capcom. We got finally Resident Evil 8, which is, as the leak was spot on, Resident Evil Village. With
a prequel to Resident Evil 4.
So...
That's my theory for this.
It clearly can't be a prequel.
Oh, you don't know that.
Well, Chris is in it, and it's Chris after the events of 7.
Have you seen how off the wall Capcom will make Resident Evil stories go? For all we know,
Time loop.
This could be Chris Sr. before he was injected with the T virus, before Chris Jr. was born, and it looks just the same. It's a clone.
Okay, fair enough. It did bring what some people were worried about. Personally, I'm not worried about it so much as I'm a little curious as what they're doing.
Also, was it just my stream or did this video go at like 10 frames per second?
I don't remember. I mean, I remember it being not 10 frames per second. I remember it looking like it was occasionally dropping to mid-20s.
It was incredibly choppy on my stream. And I was like, and like I reversed.
I've heard someone else say that, but I
rewound the video and I let it play, and I was like, it's still doing it.
So it wasn't a weird. It may have been a hiccup in the recording of the stream.
Maybe so,
but
I'm pretty sure I watched Sony's
official video, which you would hope would not be a copy of the stream. It would just be the video file that they streamed.
Yeah.
But across the board, I enjoyed Resident Evil 7. It's really awesome. You're going to play as Ethan, if I'm remembering his name correctly, from Resident Evil 7 again, and. The one thing I think is going to be a contention point for certain people is that it seems to be taking Resident Evil into the supernatural. Werewolves are shown. I don't think werewolves are that... They don't have to be supernatural. That could be something that's explained by a virus. This witch is becoming a weird thing because it seems too supernatural. Doesn't mean that they're not going to try and find a way to make it grounded.
Well, they kind of did that with 7.
But we'll see.
In a weird way.
Yeah, 7 did have some weird stuff that did get talked about and kind of in a grounded setup.
So, yeah, maybe 10 frames was like a bad hyperbole. It seems like that's definitely not like even 30 frames per second.
It seems like you know what it could be? I wonder if they're being weird and showing this at 24 frames per second.
I hope not. I swear, Capcom, I'll come beat your door down and beat you up. Why would you show this at 24 frames per second? Look at that. Look how bad that looks.
Yeah.
When he pulls that back. That's terrible to show me next-gen footage like this.
Which is weird because we know RE Engine is a really great engine.
Yeah.
And we know that it can run at 60 frames per second. We saw it run at not 4K really, but 1440, 60 frames per second on Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah.
And it obviously ran super well on both Resident Evil 2 and 3 Remake.
Also,
and Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 runs fine.
What in the Hideo Kojima is Pragmata?
Yeah. This is really weird.
This is one of those that I'm 99% sure that this is a published Capcom game that is a Hideo Kojima game.
So, I don't know about that. I don't think so. If you remember, the guy who wrote for Dead Space is the one who said tune in because he's been working on a new game. And I'm with you. When this first shown, I was like, this looks like Lumens.
Do you want to have that looks
but
like...
that does have some Dead Space look.
Do you want me... But hold on. Do you want me to show you my biggest thing yet?
Hold on.
I may be completely...
I want to show you where... This right here is where it got super Dead Space. Dead Space 3, which I don't think you played.
I didn't play it.
Dude, Dead Space 3, when you're out in full on just anti-grav and you have your booster, it looks just like that.
Okay. Do you remember the original... This is really going to screw over people that are watching, but I have to show you this. Do you remember the original Death Stranding announcement trailer?
When he was walking down the steps and they showed it off at E3, or is this the one where they showed it off at the Game Awards?
This was the...
where he wakes up on the beach?
Yes, the beach one. The very first one. Do you remember the song in that? I don't even know how to find this trailer anymore because it's original Harlem Shake.
So I know what you're talking about. I'd say look up Game Awards 2016 probably is what I'd say it probably was, or maybe Game Awards 2015. Death Stranding.
I wonder if I just click song and it play the right song. Nope, it's gonna. Is this the song?
So what does the song matter though? Do you feel like it's in this?
Yeah. There's a song that plays, and I'm 99% sure my crazy Kojima Roost Cruise brain went 100% mega dumb, and I think you can hear that song in this trailer, and it's done in a very odd way. But there's a part like where here we go. It's this trailer here, I think. No, it's not this trailer here. Crap. Like I said, this is going to be a terrible podcast for people.
No, I think that was it.
No. Is it?
Click forward. You'll know soon.
No, maybe it is the E3.
No, that was the second one.
It is the E3 one I'm thinking of.
Where they had him walk down the little weird glowy steps when they were... It was the same year as the Crash Bandicoot reveal, wasn't it?
The way the song starts.
Yeah.
You hear that sound, right?
Yeah.
Am I crazy, or is that not this sound right here?
Lord. You have a video pause, Saul. All right. Okay, I get what you're saying.
It's kind of similar, isn't it?
It's metal hitting something, which
but
is
the
similar.
way it's hitting that in that melody, right? This can't just be my Roost Cruise brain going all mega idiot on me.
Well, okay, I should say clearly the fact that a lot of people, including me, thought that this may have been Kojima.
It looks like Kojima.
It looks a lot like the white Lumen suit for the character they created.
It does.
So, but
also, Sean on Discord said the arm for like the suit's on here somewhere. I don't see that.
I don't know about that, but he brought up the fact that this was because he was in the stream. He brought up Dead Space, and I will say the helmet looks somewhat like Dead Space, but it also looks like some of the helmets you can see in Call of Duty Infinite Warfare that you can see in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare when you could get different suits unlocked. It's not that special of a helmet design.
The only thing about this, though, is that, like, I know that this is not at least one for sure in the Dead Space universe. It'll have to be separate because there is no HUD. You would see the HUD in that video.
And clearly it can't be if it's Capcom because EA owned the Dead Space. They could have
put out with Dead Space. We don't know what these fools be doing. Okay, so last thing up
is talking about the system itself.
The console reveal.
The way the console was revealed was awesome.
Yes, I love the look of the PS5, specifically the all-digital version. I am not a fan of the one with the disc drive.
I don't think they're drastically different, but I understand what you mean.
That bulbous, that pregnant belly is a difference there.
My big thing is when it's on its side, where does the disc drive go?
On the bottom.
Have you not seen
those? No, it's on the bottom.
But so Sony showed one again. They put out a video where the disc drive was on the top. So I wonder if it's interchangeable. Yeah.
I do know this for sure. So like there's a picture that people have been using that is using the size of USB and disc drives, and they are matching up to what the size would be. And I got bored at work and I put it on our Discord. If how I roughly have measured this thing up, this thing is at least 14 inches either tall or wide.
Yeah,
and that's at least. I gave that as like as a give me because it looks to me like if you look at that picture, it's at least 3 inches because the Xbox Series X is 12 inches tall.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's roughly 2.5 to 3 inches taller. I just made it 2 inches and made it 14 inches tall. To me, though, I'm gonna have it standing up. I'm gonna have it angled at my TV or behind my TV, like I have my PS4 and my Xbox One now. So I don't care.
I'm glad that it's there because going back. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. Well, I was gonna say I don't like. I love the look. I love the white. I knew it was gonna be white.
I did too.
Unless the DualSense was not included in the game in the console. If the DualSense was somehow the new Pro controller,
that you talked about,
but the DualSense being white and the console being black would make no sense. Yeah, it would be one or the other.
Now, and again, I like that they did the same thing, sandwiching black with white.
Well, yeah, they followed the color scheme.
Yeah, they did a good job there. I do think my thing that I said during the stream, if you were there, you know it was that what I like about this design is that for people, there is that the design being so adventurous and being so, I guess, what would you say? Adventurous is a good word. I was going to say it's kind of trying to push the boundary. It's going to be a thing where some people are going to just hate the design. And I'm okay with that. Because to me, a design, somebody who's putting thought into a design, it should evoke absolute adoration from one side, absolute hate from another side, and then a very small group of people who are just going to be indifferent.
Yeah, especially if it's a change of a design.
Yes. Now, my thing about the Xbox, as I brought up during it, the Series X and the PlayStation 5 are doing two different things. PlayStation 5, they're doing a design, this is what I should say, add that to my original statement about something that's going to create division, is that when you have a design, and strong division, is when you have a design that you want to be a showcase, which is what they're doing here. They're looking at like, we want to make a system that people want to showcase. There are going to be people that hate it and want to hide
like
it.
A white color. Yeah.
It is. But they at least tried. And I was like, I appreciate that it's going to create strong division from that. The Xbox has had division, but a lot of people are just like, yeah, I like that. It's just like, I like the simplicity, and it means that I can kind of put it anywhere and you don't see it. And they're doing two different things. Yeah. PlayStation wants the system to be front and center for most people, unless you just hate it so much that you decide, to hide it. And then Xbox is going that even if you put it in front of somewhere, it's going to blend in so well with everything that you're just not going to notice it. It's not that you're not supposed to pay attention.
It could be a Bluetooth speaker.
Exactly. So they're doing different things, and I appreciate that. And it speaks even more to what we talked about in that the two of them are going in such drastically different directions.
That's what I said I liked about it. On the far right, you have, can't say the far right. On one far side, you have PlayStation being incredibly futuristic. A lot of people have compared it onto the online as a console reveal you would have saw leaked in 2007.
I'm sorry, I can't in my mind get away from like on the far right you have PlayStation looking white, white supremacists.
No.
Clearly, that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
It's just funny.
No, left, I mean, at this point. But on the other side of the spectrum, you have the Xbox being incredibly minimalistic, and you have, like, for me, who's going to have both, it's fantastic because I don't have two really overly futuristic machines sitting on the same desk, and I have a really cool router-looking system on one side, and then I have my single-can mini fridge on the other. So I am curious, though. The people who have said that their entertainment systems will not support the Xbox Series X, will it support the PS5? Because
it looks about 4 inches thick when it's laid on its side.
4 inches thick is one thing, but 14 inches wide at the minimum.
Yeah.
That's more than that.
Yeah, that's not. Now, to be fair, this isn't an entertainment system. We
Right,
should say
but
that.
a lot of people would have something like this.
Yeah, but I think, depending on what you have, a lot of entertainment systems are built with like Blu-ray players, sound bars, or not sound bars, surround sound systems that are big and thick, and they're normally somewhere in the ballpark of 12 to 16 inches wide.
Right.
We've had some. So if you think about that way, I do think that for most people, this will be less of an issue.
If they're not occupying the spaces with surround sound or something.
Yeah, there is still going to be people that this is going to create problems for.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
They're both big consoles.
If you look at this perspective, which I think, in my opinion, was a brilliant idea of somebody who made that. They're like, okay, I'm going to take the disk drives and the USBs, because those are both going to be somewhat universal sizes, and I'm going to measure up. I'm just going to take an image and enlarge it to make sure that they all match. And what they did was they showed that the circular base for the PS5 also is about 6 inches. So the footprint itself, wide the width of it, I guess, would take up technically 6 inches.
When it's standing up,
when it's standing up, it's technically 6 inches wide. It might be 5, it might be a little bit less.
Sure,
but wide, I looked, I could not figure out how wide it was. So like, that's why I didn't do a full on box that was that wide. I can only do a tall one, because it looks to me like it's maybe 12 inches wide, or depth, I should say.
Oh yeah, deep.
Deep, but I can't tell. For me, honestly, though, it's not a problem. I'll say it might be a problem if I got anyone, because I don't think that the entertainment system is.
Yeah.
What I would probably end up doing is clearing out the or not clearing out, but I'd get risers for our TV and put it under our TV.
Sure.
And I'd somehow raise up our TV a couple inches in there.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Or wall mount our TV and have an arm.
That's why I'm happy as to why they chose to go wider and still let it be thinner when it's on its side, as opposed to the Series X, which, from what we're understanding, I think still says that you can have it on its side.
Yeah, 6 inches.
6 inches on its side, which is fine.
Yeah, 12 inches.
For me personally, I am going to have mine up. But the problem with the Series X is if I brought it in, I would have to delete something on one of my sides, because it would completely cover and change everything. What I like about the PlayStation being the way it is I can do just like what all my consoles are right now. They're all angled in each other in a row.
Yeah.
And I like the way that looks. Yeah. And it's functional, because I can use both of them without having to move anything.
Well, even now,
back there, and I use them. So I like that. It's
even now, both my consoles are angled outwards of my TV like this.
Yeah.
With the respective power buttons and disk drives facing out towards me. I can't do that with the Series X, so my PS4 or 5 will either do that or sit out more visible. Mm-hmm. But then my Xbox Series X would have to do the same thing. It wouldn't be able to be symmetric.
Yeah, no, fair. Now, one of the weird things about my setup is that the PlayStation 3 is naturally, when it's up on its side, it's opposite of the PS4 and the Xbox One X.
Which is weird.
But it works, because I have them on both sides of my TVs, and they're both pointing out like they should be, which is great. So,
and it's crazy, because both the Xbox One X and the PS4 are the same
orientation.
But what do communities take? And then we'll get out of here. What did you guys think of the event? Let's have that as the communities take.
As a whole.
As a whole.
Sure.
What did you guys think of the event? And remember, if you guys enjoy the conversations we have here, and if you like us, be sure to hit the like button. Leave us a review if you like us. If you don't like us, hit the dislike button. You could do that. Or you could leave us a review with some criticism on why you dislike us, and let us know how we're doing and what we could do to improve. Also, if you like us enough to talk to your friends and share us, please do so. That also helps us out, helps more people find this community that we love so much, because they love us enough to become Patreons. And in Patreon, you get all of our stuff early, but not only that, every 3 months you're subscribed, you get a free custom case with Brett just released the Final Fantasy VII Remake one. So if you want to get one, head over.
I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but I'd say
that's my favorite one you've done.
It's pretty sexy.
But yeah, head over in 3 months, $15 to get it shipped to you. Come on now.
Okay, I will make the bad news right now. 2 things I'll do before I forget about it. Something we got to work out is if you want to be part of the community's take section, and you want to have any input on that, you can head over to any of our social media things. You can join our Discord, which we always have linked in the description below. Right. And we have a dedicated channel for the community's take. That way we keep all of it together, and y'all can discuss as well based off your ideas. We ask that you just move it into general chat. You can keep talking about it. You can go over to our Twitter, which is @TriangleSQRD, or you can head over to Facebook, which is Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. You can easily find us a group. Ask to be entered in. We'll gladly accept you. We have a new person this week over in the Facebook, Miss Allie, who is one of my real life friends, and that's great. So there's that. And then the other thing is, due to a bunch of stuff happening right now with shipping rates, they seem to be going up.
Oh, no.
And I'm pretty sure that for international, right now it's $7 a month per tier on that. I'm still going to keep doing the cases, but I think I may have to make the international tier go up to $10. I'm doing a lot of debate in my mind over how I want to pull that off, but it's getting to be when we send the cases off to there, we're absolutely making nothing. Which is why we originally had to make the international case to begin with.
Yeah,
because
a whole separate
we were actually losing
tier.
money on those. So we'll figure that out, and I'm probably going to reach out to some of our patrons and see how much it's going to affect them and do some figuring out of what I want to do. But just throwing that out there. Either way, we love you guys. We appreciate you so much. If you want to listen to more of me, sadly Saul's not part of this, but you can go over and check out our weekly movie podcast we do called Midweek Matinee, which launches every Wednesday. If you're a patron, you get that a week early, so you can talk about that amongst other people. We have a patron early access section on our Discord that we have for people to discuss early access content without it being spoiled for other people in case they want to watch it down the line or listen to it down the line. And with that, we're going to close this off. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I think it was a pretty long one, surprisingly.
Yeah, over 2 hours.
Yeah, so which deserving of the event, to be fair. This was a fat event full of stuff.
Chonky event.
Yeah, chonky. We're going to need to see what you guys thought about it. But with that, we'll see you guys next week. This has been Triangle Squared.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks to our patrons, Josh Jarrell, Matthew Green, my name is Dan, Luke Bartolomeo, Sean Santarud, Funk Turkey, Danny Villalobos, Corey Hickerson, Blake Popst, Kevin Baconbits, Shadowist, Steven Salazar, The Stonard, Travis Below, Eduardo Palomino, Stefan Swanland, Constantly Kenny, Solitary Red, Chris Figs, Brian, Donovan Williams, William Digital Spooker, Derek Porter, Josh Ayers, Brandon Edwards, Sean One Neo, Tyler Powers, and El Chabib. If you would like to be a patron, go to patreon.com/Nartec and look at what our options are. Thank you.